I think if you're a powerlifter, you should be ready to go at any times, and that's how I felt. I was like, I'll jump in, and then why can't I do that? Or why can't I do something? Like, everybody has something special about them. It's just, you got to find what it is. Like, he's a monster. I'm like, this dude is like, was below me a year ago, and now he's like above me, passing me, and he's up there with the top guys in the country. When you get to that point in powerlifting or anything you do, when you know in your heart that you put everything into it, it doesn't sting as much, or doesn't feel as bad.
Yeah. Through this process, when did you establish that endpoint? Sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk. All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Nick Forte, top-ranked powerlifter. Started competing in 2015, but we'll get in. You probably started training way before that, so we'll kind of get into that. I want to jump off with the Reach Rumble that you just did on September 7th, right?
Yeah.
Because looking through your open powerlifting, those are close to your best numbers or your best numbers. So walk me through just the meet. How'd the meet go?
Honestly, it was the best meet I've ever done. Like, the way that we were taken care of, it made you feel like a professional athlete. They know what they're doing. They have it figured out because, they paid for our hotel, gave us money to come out there and compete. And if you want to make a difference in powerlifting, like people say they want to, they're doing it. Like, they have it figured out right now. And, we did we all weighed in like super fast. Like, we didn't have to wait around, some meets sitting around waiting. No, just one after another. Let's go, dude, get on the scale. That was quick. Went right into a press conference, which was really good. And then we did a weigh-in where we weighed off. We took our shirts off. Like, it was like the UFC. It felt like legit. Like, I was like, man, this is once in a lifetime experience. Like, I got dudes dropped out and I hopped in. I'm like, this is so worth it. Like,
was this a formula only type thing?
Oh, it was just best total, top total.
Okay, because I saw you were 76.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So top total. It was just totals talk, as it was.
Oh, just total. So no coefficients.
No, it was just highest total. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why Zach Myers ended up winning, because it was highest total. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what every big guy's been asking for forever, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Big Dogs years ago used to do something.
Yeah.
Like that.
I think that's where it kind of stemmed from. I heard.
Yeah. So how'd the meet go?
I felt really good. Like, the warm-up room was awesome. Like, all the dudes were really, like, it just seemed like a good group of guys that were together. Nobody really had an ego. Sometimes, like, you have that dude that's, like, all blasted up on gear, and he's like, no, this is my rack. No, dudes are, like, hopping in and out. Everybody was friendly. Like, the guys from overseas were really cool. Like, one of my favorite was that Ireland's strongest coach, Jake Brennan. He had me, like, laughing in the back room. I'm usually, like, pretty serious, but he made me feel so, like, loose and relaxed. He's like, yo, brother, let's have fun. Like, we jumped in at the last minute. Let's have fun. And I think that's why I had a great performance. I was just relaxed and had fun.
You know how you have some meets that the training doesn't go very well, but the meet goes really well. Other meets, the training goes really, really well, and the meet goes like shit. How would you rank this one from training into it?
I wasn't even ready for the meet. It was I don't know if you knew, it was a power bar only for all three lifts. So I come from a 55-pound squat bar, the deadlift bar. So I did a meet 5 weeks before that. I did a WRPF meet, win some money, just hopped in it real quick because I was injured and just wanted to hop on the platform. And then I got the message. They're like, hey, we need people to jump in a Reach Rumble. Will you do it? And I don't ever back down. I'm like, you know what? I think if you're a powerlifter, you should be ready to go at any times. And that's how I felt. I was like, I'll jump in. And then, it was like a 5-week prep on a power bar.
I didn't pay that much attention looking through your videos. Did you have to adjust your width of your grip on your squat?
Yeah, I do a Townsend grip.
Yeah.
So honestly, my squat felt better because I felt like I had to, like, control the bar more. Sometimes that 55
the whip,
sometimes that 55-pound bar rolls up my back. I've been working on it, but this one, it just felt so smooth, the whole walkouts. And
so the whip was not bad? No,
I didn't really feel it, honestly. Like, when I was squatting, I didn't feel it as much.
Okay.
I feel it more with a 55, I feel like, sometimes.
Interesting. Because what I was wondering is, if you're out there all the way to the sleeves, right, then they bring it in at like cranking you. But if you got that Vulcan grip,
if I had to do a regular grip, I don't even know if I can get under the bar.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
There's no way I don't think I could fit under. I'm not flexible enough to do it.
So how'd your first squat feel? How'd the opener feel?
Good. I was relaxed. Like, I knew I had to dunk it too because it had high standards. So my thing was, like, I'm gonna open up light. I went 705 and then just buried it. And then you know how it is. Once you get that confidence, those 3 white lights, you just keep going. I feel like my openers, like, whenever I hit it, I just feel good. So I knew once I hit that, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good day.
All right. Then going on to the second.
Even better. Like, went low again, dunked it, came right up out of the hole. I was like, wow. And then like, which is funny, 5 weeks before that, I did that WRPF meet and I barely hit 755. So I was like 744 on my second and moved good. I was like, oh man, this is good. And then the third attempt was 761, which I pretty much smoked it. Like, it was like a little struggle, but I think I had like maybe 10 more kilos in me.
Definitely. I mean, I'm looking at that compared to your best, like 776 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was like 788. I did the MPL meet or
quickly
something.
Back up. So
it was something like,
But it definitely was there if you wanted to have
I feel like it was too, yeah.
All right, and then going into the bench.
My bench always feels pretty, like, if I can stay healthy with my bench, it always is there. Like, I'll always bench 500. I don't think there's been a meet I haven't been under 500. Like
pecs, shoulders, elbows.
It's like tendonitis I was struggling with, but thank God my wife's physical therapy, so she works on it a lot for me. And my right side's been really lagging. Like, you can see on my lockout, the right arm will always slack sometimes. So
is it the inside the arm tendonitis?
Yeah, I think it's more forearm. It feels like forearm and the bicep for me.
Yeah.
That's where I feel like I feel it the most.
All right, then with the deadlift being a 45 pound with no whip bar, let's just put it that way. How did that feel? So
I was worried about it going into it, but I feel like when I was younger, I didn't have a deadlift bar. So when I started powerlifting, I didn't know what a deadlift bar was till I went to like a big gym.
Yeah.
Like I saw guys like Pete Rubbish and stuff pulling on them, and I'm like, man, I gotta get a deadlift bar. I want to try this. So I was pretty comfortable with a stiff bar. Like if you look, I was pretty close. If I would have locked out that last deadlift, I'm only like 30 pounds away from my best ever.
So it didn't change how your start?
No, I'm pretty explosive off the floor. So I think sometimes the whip will pull me back down. So I think I can pull just as much from a stiff end deadlift bar.
Or we could look at it the other way and say they just need to learn how to use the other bar. Right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
We're gonna go with that.
Yeah.
So overall, good experience, 2044 total.
Yeah.
I think I heard in one of the podcasts that you were on, was it 2100 or 2200 and you're done?
2200.
2200.
Yeah, I want 2200. Yeah, 100%.
Right. So you don't hear that very frequently.
Yeah.
From people like, here's my endpoint.
Yeah.
And then it's in there. So through this process, when did you establish that endpoint?
I think when I first got into it, I just always saw that number. Like I was like, all right, first let's set a goal, 2,000.
Yeah, well, I was going to say when you got in 2015, 2,000 was a bigger total than it is now.
It was. Yeah, and then like I actually hit 2K in reps, and I was like, okay, I did this. Now let's try to get to 2,100, which is really big. At 242, I did that, and I ended up hitting 2,100 and RPS meet Christmas Carnage. I think at the time I was ranked like number 3 in the world in reps at 242, which nowadays 2,100 guys are. But yeah, that was the goal. I'm like, all right, let's hit 2,000, then let's go to 2,100, and now I'm at 2,100 plus like 2,200's the goal.
How did you get started in all this? So now we're gonna go way back, right? So there's football in high school.
Yeah. So what's funny is when I was in high school, my buddy, I'll give him a shout out, Aaron Brumell, he gave me your bands, and like we were like watching all your stuff. And I learned who you were through him. Like I was probably like 15, 16, and we were like reading all this stuff, watching your guys' videos. We would train with the Prowler. Do you remember the Prowler?
Oh, yeah.
I think it was like Brian Cushing got us on it and stuff. And like we'd watch all these videos, and then we would train like I remember the old orange bands we had.
And this was for football.
Yeah, this was for football. We were doing like box squats, explosive stuff, and like we were kind of divided. It was funny because like we had guys that were doing like power cleans and Olympic lifting, and we were like the ones that were doing all the elite FTS, like West Side stuff, explosive. So we were like kind of fighting each other because we're like, no, this stuff's better. No, this Olympic lifting shit's better. But it was just like, I just like to train. Like I love lifting heavy like that.
Did there come a point to where the training became a stronger passion than ball?
Yeah, I think I struggled with that. I should have been focusing more on being explosive and like speed. I just wanted to be strong. So it was always about who had the biggest bench, who deadlifted the most, and who squat the most. And I think that's why powerlifting was so good for me, because I just kept, I just want to get stronger.
Yeah. Was there a time to where you migrated from like the high school gym to a real gym? Well, not that high school gym.
So like my area is like, I'm from like Schuylkill County, Pennsylvania. We didn't like have any powerlifting gyms at all. Yeah. I would have to drive like an hour or 2 hours to go to a powerlifting. I remember
what about just like a bodybuilding gym or a commercial?
Yeah, I think it was more like bodybuilding gyms, but like not even like, For real, I can name like 4 gyms that were in my whole area, like old school gyms, like bodybuilding style. Like guys trained hard, but not like that. Like powerlifting wasn't really big in my area. I feel like me and my brothers like really brought it into like our area now. So that was pretty cool to see that happen. Like,
so where were you training at?
There's this gym called Bad Dogs Fitness.
Okay.
We used to train there.
Bad Dogs Fitness.
Bad Dogs Fitness.
Kind of a contradiction.
Yeah.
Right.
Then Carpies was another gym I started at. Then eventually when I did graduate high school, Iron House, which had a lot of powerlifting, bodybuilding stuff, which was like 30 minutes away from me. But that's where I currently train now because I live close to that. But yeah, Iron House is a pretty powerlifting gym.
And there weren't any powerlifters in there at all. So it was just you and your brothers.
Yeah,
trying
like
to figure this shit out.
Maybe like we start to meet more guys that were into it, but yeah, I really didn't have like a guidance or anybody. Like I had this guy, he was a chiropractor, Thomas Diebel. I used to train Tom Diebel. So he like really brought me into like powerlifting. He had it like in the back of his chiropractor. Like it kind of reminded me of like Pete Rubbish deadlifting in the basement. Okay. He had like this back room. He had a monolift, deadlift bar. So I think he's the one that got me like focused on powerlifting, I would say. Like, because it was so funny. We would just be training in his back room, like me, him, and like 2 other dudes, Dan Wowak, and it was just like training hard with him. Yeah, he was teaching me stuff.
Was answering questions on our Q&A forever.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's such a good dude, man.
Yeah, so how were you putting your training together? It was conjugate, right? But
yeah, kind of.
I'm going to call it like clusterfuck conjugate.
Yes, 100%. It was.
Yeah. So how were you trying to put all that together? Because it was you. I know you. How many of you brothers do you have?
I have 2 brothers.
2 brothers.
Yeah.
So all 3 of you guys were?
Yeah, all of us were powerlifting. Like once they got done high school football, and my one brother went to the military, and then like when he came home, we all just started powerlifting together.
Okay. Yeah. So then how did this clusterfuck conjugate come together?
I don't, it's hard to say because I just trained. I just figured it out as I went. I just would like read, like, I remember I'd get books from Tom, like the Brian Carroll book I had, Jim's book. I read Jim's book I watched like videos and just kind of figured out on my own, like, hey, this is how this worked. Like 531, I ran that for a while. But yeah, just like watching videos and reading and learning.
What about the technical side? Because I'm going back to if I was that age, do I really care about that, or am I just wanting to lift heavy?
I don't think I cared about technique at all. I just wanted to lift. I just wanted to like lift heavy and get a big squat. I think a big deadlift was like what everybody wanted back then too. It felt like because it was like what Pete was doing and all that. I looked up to a lot of the little bridges, and I learned a lot from them and watching their videos how to squat properly. So I think I did start to pick up technique cues.
It's interesting because throughout history, it was, at least here in the States, it was always the bench press. And then at some point in time, it kind of shifted to the deadlift. But overseas was always the deadlift. Yeah. And because I hate the deadlift, I was always kind of like happy to listen to the bench press. Yeah. But right around that time that you're talking about was when that shift, started to happen. Right now, as an outsider looking in, it seems to be, I want to say it's more total oriented, but it's more formula oriented.
Yeah, there's a big battle right now between total versus formula. Yeah. Like the abs, that's total. Yeah. But they do meets that are formula. Like they have that Clash of Titans meet coming up. So it's tough because like, do I like total? Yeah, I respect guys that can put up the big weight, but then it's like me, sometimes I'll win a meet because of dots. Yeah. So it's like, because I'm a pretty light 275, or I was 242 forever, and so I don't really know what I like.
It almost seems like what I always thought they should do, and I don't know the formulas well enough to really know which would fit, is you can break it into 4 different divisions, but then tailor whatever that division is to the coefficient that's kind of built for that division.
I agree. Like something like that would be a lot better.
Yeah, because that way you're not going to have the guy that's weighing 250 getting completely screwed because of the formula with somebody that's 305.
But right now you have guys that are 240 putting up what's his name, just that Death Grip Derek. Yes. He just took the 275 world record at like 245. So so is it really dots? Like look at John Hack. He's out totaling some of the best guys in the world. So like sometimes it's like, do these dots guys, because they can't lift heavier weight, just say, oh, it's not fair? But then you have like these outliers that are just putting up huge numbers. So I like really don't know where you go from there.
No, I don't, because it's impossible to remove the outliers because there's layers of them. Yeah. So you can take the first outlier out, but then you're like, oh shit, here's another layer of outliers. And then each lift has its own outlier.
Like I saw that dude overseas, he just squatted he's a 242 guy in reps. He just put up some crazy numbers. And I can't think of his name right now, but I just saw him online. I'm like, this dude's a freak, and he's like 242, putting up like 2,300.
Is it Zaire you're talking about?
Maybe that was him. Like,
Yeah.
he's a young kid. I think he's like 21 or
No, it's somebody else.
It's somebody else?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. This kid was like young, and he's putting up, like, I'm like, the new era powerlifting. Some of these kids are ridiculous.
No, I think I know who you're talking about because the total wasn't that far off the multi-ply total.
Yeah.
Which is insane.
I can't think of his name right now, but if it comes to me.
Yeah. So you're doing the clusterfuck conjugate.
Yeah.
At what point did you start to realize that you had to change it a little bit?
Like nagging injuries. Like when I was young, I had like a lower back strain that was pretty bad deadlifting. So I was like, all right, we need to like figure, we can't max out every single week in a gym. But then it's hard because I'm like a 21-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, just started doing some PEDs, and when you're young like that, and you just feel invincible. Like
Sure.
all you want to do is max out every week. So it's like,
You can kind of get away with it for a while.
for real, I got away with it for a long time. I still get away with it sometimes now. Like I still get in that mode where I'm like, I want to max out every week, but it's just learning how to peak properly. It was what I needed to learn because I think I did my first meet and I ended up bombing out of an RPS meet, and that's what really changed my mind. Like D will pull me aside. He's like, yeah, man, you were just killing your body. You gotta peak properly. So
explain to me what killing your body means. You're saying maxing out.
because like I'd have a workout like
Yeah.
my buddy did for me. Like my buddy Brumel was like one of my first coaches because he's an exercise science major and he's learned stuff in college. He's like, here, let me do your program for you. So I was like, all right, bud. And like I just wouldn't stick to the numbers. He'd be like, all right, let's squat 600. I'd come in and be like, you know what, feeling good today. Gonna put 650 on in reps. Let's try to load this up.
Yeah. And then just week after week, the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't have any organization until I was like in my late 20s. Like actually when I came out to State College, when I moved out there and started my career, I was at this gym called East Coast, and dude, it was awesome. Like it was like coming to like a West Side. We had this little basement and they had like a speaker and music blaring. There was like 6 kids there that were squatting like 700 pounds plus. Like it was like this Nick Smith. I don't know if you ever met Chris Wiest, deadlift. He was there. Leland, his name was. Like, just all these dudes are putting up freakish weight, and here I am, like a little 220 guy, and I'm like, what are these guys doing? And so I learned a lot from them too. Like, and that's what really opened my eyes to powerlifting. Like, these dudes are putting up like ridiculous numbers. Like, I want to be like them. Like, there's this Teeters, his name is Steven Teeters. He squatted like 700 at 198. I'm like, man, I got a long way to go now. Like, I'm around all, because you're like that. Like when I moved out there, I was like the little fish in the big pond, and like Schuylkill County in my area, I'm like the big fish. And when I went out there and started meeting all these freaks, I'm like, holy crap, man.
How'd your ego take that? Because when you're younger like that.
Oh, it was rough because I'm like used to being like the strongest dude in the gym.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like I'd come into bench and people like, yo, let Forte bench. He's gonna put up something crazy today. But then you get there and these dudes are like, who are you? Like we could bench 500. We could do this.
Yes, but so it didn't intimidate you. It motivated you.
Yeah, that I think that's what pushed me for real. Because I came in this gym and my goal was like, I want to be the strongest dude in this gym. That's my goal. I want to be stronger than all these guys. I'm gonna put up a huge total. I used to lift with Lonis. Used to lift there. He's a big West Side guy. I think his wife's name's Chloe. Like they were there too, so like they were pretty strong. So I'm coming in like this gym. I'm like, wow, I can't believe that there's this many powerlifters in this little small area, and that's what really motivated me. And I think that's what made me get even more focused because I'm like, all right, I start focusing on diet more, actually training. And I think that's when I hit the 2100 at 242 in reps. Was that whole prep there?
Yeah.
So.
And was that conflict with conjugate and let's just say linear training at that gym the same way it was when you were in high school?
Yeah, a lot of those guys like Lonis and other ones, like my buddy Ryan Bashada back then, he was doing a lot of conjugate stuff too. So yeah, we were doing like conjugate, but I mean, I don't know because it's like I was just like maxed out all the time. I felt like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what I really was doing. I just love to lift heavy. Like I love that feeling of getting underweight and grinding. Because like they just posted on the Instagram the other day, they're like, what was your favorite moment about the abs? And the guy's like, Nick Forte grinding on his like 3rd deadlift. Because I don't quit. I have that feeling in me where it's like I would rather die under this weight than than give up on a lift. Like that's just how I've always lifted. Like I want to grind. It's fun.
Yeah. I
It's
mean,
fun
you're there,
for me.
right?
Yeah.
So,
like that's fun for me.
Looking to boost recovery, enhance your sex drive, and improve performance in the gym. Do you think your hormones are out of whack and you're tired of getting the runaround from your doctor? You know, things like your hormones are just fine, stop lifting heavy weights, etc., etc., etc. I know what that feels like as I've been down that road most of my life. This is why we've partnered with Mer Health. Mer Health is a premium telehealth platform that specializes in hormone optimization and preventative medicine, ensuring a better quality of life. Mer Health offers a Table Talk panel tailored for our listeners, featuring comprehensive tests like total and free testosterone, sensitive estradiol, and advanced markers like lipoprotein A and IGF-1. These comprehensive panels of up to 84 carefully selected biomarkers allow you to identify areas of enhancement and maximize your physical, cognitive, and sexual performance. It's much different than the panels you may get from your doctor. Choose between self-service options where you can select lab panels based upon decades of experience, or opt for guided optimization with your own health coach. Start with a detailed breakdown of your labs and receive personalized treatment options, both over the counter and prescription. Visit merrickhealth.com/tabletalk and use the code TABLETALK to get 10% off your first order. Mer Health isn't just about better health, it's about empowering you to take control. How did you decide on your career path?
So actually one of my best friends got done college, was criminal justice, and didn't know really what I wanted to do. I'm like, wanted to be a cop. Like I was doing the Act 120 and I was like, I want to be a police officer. And then like did a ride along and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do this every day, because it's a lot of, you're doing a lot of, but now my best friend Dylan's like, yo, you're a big kid, come work in corrections, like the pay's well, you're gonna get a pension, there's endless opportunities to promote and move up. So I did, I applied and then started working at a state prison called Rockview, which was like 100 years old. So when I got hired, I walk into this and like, it's like 5 tiers high, like, I don't know if you've ever seen an old prison. So it's like really intimidating. There's like pigeons flying around and stuff because how old it is.
Inside the damn thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, it's like a movie. Like I come into this old school prison, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like it's not that bad of a job. A lot of dudes there like to lift weights. Like a lot of COs are meatheads. I don't know if you ever met them. So I bonded with a lot of dudes out there because they were all meatheads, and like just career felt good. I was like, you know, sometimes stuff happens and you have to react. So it like brought me back to being younger. And
so when you were in college, then was powerlifting your top priority?
I actually wrestled for a little bit.
Oh, so you wrestled in college?
Yeah, for about 2 years, and man, I just got sick of cutting weight. And
what class?
184.
Okay.
So I started playing football. We originally went to play football, and then I was like, man, I miss wrestling. Like wrestling was always my number one passion. Like I just love, because like football's hard sometimes, where it's a team sport, and like I've always been like really hard on myself. So I was like, if I fail, it's on me. So that's why I loved wrestling, because it's like you can't blame the coach.
Yeah.
You can't blame anybody else. It's just you on the mat, and like the discipline part of it, like cutting weight and doing all that. I really love that part of it.
Yeah. So when I was in high school, I wrestled and played played football, and the thing that drove me fucking crazy is we lost the game.
Yeah.
And I busted my ass. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
some of them still eat at me to this day. Like,
yeah, I mean, there's like, what much more can you do? You can't play every position.
No.
You're not good enough to play every position. And with the wrestling aspect, I had total accountability.
Yeah.
Like if I got beat, it doesn't matter if I make an excuse or not. I still got fucking beat.
Yeah, that's what sucks. Is because like you just realize that this guy's better than you. And
and you got to work harder, or work your skills, or whatever it's going to be. And then, you know, that kind of parlayed into the powerlifting aspect. That's what I love about powerlifting.
That's what I think got me into powerlifting, was wrestling and that accountability. And like, it was just you by yourself. Like, I like training with people, but honestly, I don't mind training by myself. Like, I can go to the gym with my music on and get in the zone.
Yeah.
It's nice, like, having people there. You definitely get that adrenaline, but I've always just been like, I can do this by myself.
So with, I call it the wrestling mentality,
yeah.
You know, you'll run the stairs for 4 hours or whatever it's going to be. That doesn't really play off very well when it comes to powerlifting.
For weight cuts especially, like I've screwed weight cuts up. Like my wife.
Oh, you tried to cut like a wrestler?
I did my first ever meet. My wife laughs at it now because I was cutting a 220. I looked like a freaking ghost. I have a picture I'll have to show you after but like I cut to 220 and I just didn't eat for like 3 days. Like I was like doing like a wrestling diet. I don't know how I didn't bomb out of this meet, but I remember being like pale on the platform. I think I told like 1720 at 220 in reps, and I remember being like just no energy. I'm like, how did I even complete this meet?
So with wrestling being the priority for what, the first couple of years, and then you stepped out?
Yeah.
Did powerlifting take that place?
Yes, 100%. That's what I got bit by the arm bug. Like, I think that's why I stopped wrestling, because I was like, I can't lift heavy and cut weight like this.
Yeah.
So
I kind of look for those crossroads, and all you guys as being the meathead, I had the same type of thing. It's like, you know, that goes, everything else kind of goes second, but the more successful ones in my mind actually have a second.
Yeah.
You know, where a lot of them, it becomes that top priority, then it's, you know, burn the boats or whatever it is, which, you know, which is kind of stupid because training takes what at most if you're really
Plus, I don't know if you feel like this. I feel like I had a lot of unfinished business with wrestling. Like, I should have been a state place winner, and I was just such a head case as a kid. Like, you can ask my coaches if you talk to them today, or my best friends. Like, I would beat kids that were like place, but then it'd come down to like a pressure situation. I'd just get in my own head, and I'd be like, I don't want to do this. This is stupid. And I just felt like that's what really drives me to powerlifting, is because that like is always in the back of my head. Like, you lost this match, like you weren't good enough. So that always like something wrong mentally with me, that I keep thinking about those moments, and then like, oh, you're gonna hit this lift, this is gonna make up for you losing there.
Yeah, I think it's just drive, right? You don't want to look back on shit and think, what if I would have done this?
Yeah.
You know, or leave. You know, so being aware of it's the biggest thing. Yeah. You know, because then it will make you stick to the meal plans better than you otherwise would. Not that it's 100% ever. I don't want people to be deceived by all this. But it is a big difference. Yeah. You know, especially if you've experienced it in another sport, because you can't go back. No. You know, but you can carry it over.
So is football, like, getting back to football, is it pretty huge around here? Because I know I hear about Ohio football all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where I come from, it's coal region football, we call it. And, like, it's crazy because, like, we don't get a lot of kids that go D1. Like, here and there we do, but we have a lot of tough kids. Like, kids in the coal region, they just hit hard. They're built different. Like, my whole area is, like, coal mines. So I felt like growing up, too, like, we always had a chip on our shoulder of, like, you need to play tough defense. You need to hit kids hard. We're going to outwork everybody. Yeah. And how we get to, like, some of these inner city schools and the kids that were, like, athletic and faster, and we could stick with them, and they knew that we were hitting them.
Yeah, but you can't catch them.
Especially because, like I said, our whole area was just like power based. Like power eye football, run it down your throat. Like, we ran a triple option in high school, so we were just like, run it down your throat. And that's how my whole area with football was. So that's what kind of like drove me into powerlifting too, because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna be the hard nosed powerlifter that like just grinds, and bring it back to my roots of like my great grandfather used to work in a coal mine, and that's who I am. So that's why I always like carry that around on me too.
So when it flipped over in college, did it take you longer to graduate because of that?
Yeah, it took me like 6 years.
Okay, well, the reason I ask is
to get a 2-year degree.
Okay. I get it. Out of anybody, I get it.
I was like partying and stuff too, like drinking and just being a young kid, you know.
Well, you don't want it to fuck up your training schedule either. You know, so
that's what sucked too, because like you want to go out with your friends on a Friday. Like, when I was young, I was definitely not as dedicated. When I got over 20, like when I was 21, I was reckless. I would be like powerlifting, drinking at a bar Friday, Saturday. So that was a big problem of mine. Like, I wish I would have, looking back on it, like, I enjoyed all those moments with my friends. I have a lot of fun, but looking back on it, I wish I would have been like more dedicated to powerlifting, because like I said, I'd go out on a Friday night and Saturday night, and then like you're not recovered for you're still not recovered from Monday if you're binge drinking all weekend.
But being younger like that, you can kind of get away with it a
definitely.
little bit more. You can't get away with it when you're older, for sure. Then at what point because there's different shifts, right? There's like the hobbyist or whatever you want to call that, recreational, then it's, you know, somewhat more serious, but you don't really understand what serious really is until then there's the next step where this is serious. I want to total 2,200 pounds. What point in time did that shift happen?
So I think, like I said, when I got to that state college gym, when I got to East Coast, it was called, that's when I was dialed in. I was like, no more really drinking. Like, here and there, I still went out, but then I was like, all right, if you're going to be serious about this, let's go all in. Like, let's see what we can do. So I started like really focusing on that 2,100. And you're a young kid going through like a bad breakup, and that's what motivated me too, because I was like, all right, now I have nothing holding me back. You can just focus on work, going to work, and powerlifting. And that's what I did for like probably a year. And that's when I hit the big total 2,100. So that's when it like shifted in my head, like, all right, let's dial it in, let's focus. Because I hit 2015 with like a year before that with Travis Rogers at an RPS meet. So I was like, all right, I'm close. I feel it coming. Like I'm getting there. I was pretty focused there, but not all in. So like, I think like when I went all in, because when I hit 2100, I squat 805 at 242 in reps. I bench 515, and I pulled like this massive grind of 780 deadlift. It was awesome. Like I remember like we were in an old YMCA gym, and this moment still plays in my head. Like my brother's like, how bad do you want it, Nick? How bad do you want 2100? And I just remember like all these people screaming, and I like locked out 780, and that's what gave me 2100.
So one of those 12-second deadlifts.
Yeah, it was awesome though, because like I like to the standard locked it out. Like it felt great. And that's when my shift was like, all right, we can do this now.
Have your brother stayed powerlifting?
Austin is like very inconsistent, man. He's a freak. The kid could come in today to your gym without lifting for 3 months and squat 800 pounds in reps. Like he's just a genetic freak. My little brother Bailey, a little bit less now because he's like focused on his career more, which if I like, I'm kind of like their dad to them. And my brother Austin just had a kid, so I'm like, but powerlifting's awesome, but if you can't balance it too, like your kid comes first. Like I think too many people get lost in this where they're like, powerlifting's my life. I'm like, no, like you have a family, that comes first, because this is gonna be gone one day.
Yeah,
you want to miss moments with your kids.
Well, yeah, the family can feed the powerlifting.
Yeah,
if they do this right.
Yes, but if you can't balance it, like he has a hard time balancing it. I feel like because he's like one of those kids that's all in. So he's either all in on powerlifting or all in on his family. Yeah,
but that becomes interesting, right? Because how you would have defined all in 10 years ago, or even 8 years ago, is completely different than how you define it now. You see what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, like my brother would like me and my brother would like we'd be working a job and we'd be like, all right, these kids invite us to go to Jersey and lift with them. Let's call off work and go. So that's what I mean. Like, I feel like we were all in because, like, we would, like, not go to work to go powerlift on a session with kids.
Yeah. Well, you put that, but then I can throw it back and say, well, if you're going out partying and drinking,
you're not all in.
Then you're not eating very well.
Yeah.
Then you're really not all in. You're just all in with the things you conveniently want to be all in with.
Yes, 100%.
But at a certain point, you realize that all in is on all those things.
Yeah.
And family kind of plays into that. Right?
That's what made me now 100%. Like, having a son and having like a supportive wife, like I feel like I'm all in now. Like I don't drink at all anymore. Like if there's a wedding, have a beer or two, but like I feel like right now currently I'm like all in. I would say that because I eat pretty healthy. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I eat my shitty foods, but I think my wife and son keep me so motivated, and now I feel like at this point in my life I am all in on it.
Yeah, see what I'm saying? How it shifts and it changes.
Because when you're a young kid, you're not all in.
No, but you think you are.
You think you are, You think you're
convenient things with that. So what does your training look like now? So it's well, actually, let's just do it this way because you're in the off season, right?
Yeah, just
so what meet's over, and we'll just walk this all the way through till the next meet.
Okay.
So meet's over. So then what's it look like right after the meet? Any time off?
Yeah. So I sat down with my old coach Dom Sino. He owns Ambition Gym where I train out of. One of my best friends. You know, sat there and talked to him. I'm like, listen, man, like we've been working together a while. You helped fix my squat. You got, like I did the Showdown meet. He helped me not bomb out. Like I had a shuttle. I don't know. We'll go back and talk about that, but that's when I really got my name on the powerlifting scene was the Showdown meet in Kansas City. But he's a good friend. Sat down with him like, I met Greeno out in Utah, and I saw how he had Zach Myers and how he handled lifters, and he traveled. I've seen him at other meets. So I'm like, I need to do something different because I'm getting pretty banged up. Like I'm fighting all these injuries. I need to like, if I want to hit 2200, like my friend, I don't know if he's gonna be able to help me get there because he's a friend.
Sure.
He's a really good coach. He is, but like I think sometimes it's hard when a friend's telling you something. Like I wouldn't listen to him sometimes. Now I feel like that I'm with Greeno now. I just picked him up as a coach. I feel like I'm gonna follow everything to a T because I'm paying him and he's my coach now. It's that coach. Like we'll build that friendship, but it's like a coach-client relationship where it's like, all right, I'm paying this guy for a service. I need to follow through on it. So now that's where we're at right now in the offseason. We start a couple of workouts with him, and I really like it now. I'm actually doing all my accessories.
Yeah. Well, I think it kind of looks like what you're setting up is, so you got to have realists, and then you have to have enablers.
Yeah.
Right? So let's just say the old coach is the enabler. Like fuck it, go. Right?
Yeah, that's how he was too.
Greeno's more the realist, right?
Yes.
So you still have that other person, there.
Yeah.
And that person physically is going to know when you walk in if you're actually really should back off or if you're just being a puss.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's something an online coach.
And he would try to tell me too. Like he's good for. He was a good coach, good friend, and he's like, you gotta train smarter, man. Like you're hurt. You're breaking your body down for these meets, but like I felt like I was doing the program and stuff. I just feel like it was like nagging injuries that are catching up to me. Like always lower lumbar back pain keeps flaring up, and I have to do like peptides for a couple weeks, and it feels like it flares up again. So that's why I feel like this long off season now, when I come back, I'm 100% feel like 2200 is going to be there.
Yeah. So what's the goal of this off season?
Just get the body healthy and work on a lot of, like me and Greeno, it was pretty cool. He FaceTimed me. We talked for like 45 minutes and just, he asked me what I want out of this. And I'm like, I want to get healthy, work on these weaknesses. And the next time you see me on the platform, you're going to see a different version of me and somebody that can compete with these top guys. Cause I feel like I'm there. If you look at that 21:38 I did, I had a little bit more left in the tank, and that's what gave me confidence, because I'm like, that was a short meet prep, and I hopped in that pretty quick and still put that up.
Well, at the top level too, the healthy, all things being somewhat even, say 100 pounds on a total plus or minus, the healthier person's usually always going to win. Not saying that they're totally healthy, right? But there's degrees of this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everybody goes in pretty banged up, I feel.
Exactly. Like. And if every little nick that you have is, another, I don't know, I'm just going to throw shit out. 50 pounds off your total, whatever it is. But you take those away, and then all of a sudden you're totaling more than what the others are. Yeah. So what outside of the injury issues, what are the other weak points that you diagnosed that you were speaking with him about?
So my deadlift lately has took a big dip. Like I feel like I was like consistently pulling 800 there for a while, and I feel like with this like lower back pain, it's been like a lot harder to deadlift. So he's like working. He like designed a bunch of accessories to help strengthen those other muscles. Like I tore my adductor 2 years ago, so he really designed a program for me to like strengthen these, because Zach did the same thing. Zach Myers tore his adductor too, so he's like, listen, I can help you with that, because like I think why my back pain's flaring up is I'm like still nervous about that right adductor, so I'm putting all that pressure on the left side. So he's like really helping me focus on that.
Did you get caught up in before this time period of just doing the same things all the time?
Yeah.
So you have the main lifts, but then you have your main accessories too, and then anything after that just kind of like whatever.
Yeah.
Falls through.
I think one of my biggest downfalls is not doing all the accessories. I get a little lazy. Like I'll put all my energy into that squat and then like another accessory, and then I just wouldn't do them. Yeah. So I think that's now that I'm actually doing them, I feel myself after the work, and I'm like, damn, I could feel my weaknesses and what's really hurting me.
So in this phase now, did you take down the workload of
100%.
lifts?
Yeah, like recently he just had me squatting, 500 for, it's like a 2x5 and then pause squats. Yeah. So that felt a lot better.
So the loads dropped.
Yeah, the load, my bench significantly down. It was like 405 for 2x5 and then Larson presses. So like, yeah, I definitely feel better too. The body feels better. And then like, I'm pretty much just like cruising right now. I'm not on anything besides test. And
is that different compared to in the past?
No, I've always came off, because I have a kid. So like I've always like known to come off and be smart about it. I think listen to like Mark Bell and like you guys, listen to you and other people, like you got to be smart about it, because like your receptors do burn out. You can't stay on stuff all year long. Yeah. And there's some guys that are like, I've met guys, I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like you're just putting tons of stuff in your body.
Oh yeah, then each meet prep it ends.
Yeah, and you can see too, like, because you'll see when they add the good stuff, because they're just like super strong, and then they come into their off season and their numbers drop significantly.
Yeah. So how long is this off season phase going to run?
I don't know. I'm not motivated to do another meet beside, like when you do the ABS, like if you've seen how it was ran, it's so hard. Like I dropped out of the American Pro because I'm like, no offense to them, it's just like, how do I live up to this expectation again? Like I just went to a meet where like I was treated like a professional athlete, press conference, interview, paid me to come out there. It's like, how do you go back down to a meet where it's like, it's a spectacle. Like he does a good job, Micah. Like it's going to be a good meet, but it's like not the same. And it's like, now I'm like super, like I told my wife when I got home, I called her right after me. I'm like so motivated now. Like this was awesome. Like this is what powerlifting can be. Like I can be up there with the top guys. Like, so it's hard. I don't know what I want to do, like meat wise.
So you may be looking at actually a full off season.
Yeah, like until another big meet. Like I know Clash of Titans is coming up for ABS, and
when's that?
I think it's April. They're doing it in Ireland, but that's like invite only. But my wife told me too. Like we were talking, maybe I'll go put up a big total before then, and then get invited to one of those big meets. Like Reach Rumble this year is invite only, so they have a 110 plus, which I would be in, and then they have the big boys. But I'm like, maybe one of these guys will drop out again, and I'll slide in there. So I'm just gonna train as if I'm competing at it and see what happens.
And that would be like in April time.
That one's in October.
So October.
Yeah, they switched it. Yeah, it's October this year. Next year.
Okay, I'm like, wait a minute.
My bad.
We're in October.
No. October of next year they're doing.
Cool. So you're looking at like 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
Right. So you have this full time.
Yeah, like I said, I might. I like donating money to charity and like for my church. So like I feel like I was hurting my body, but like I always felt this calling. Like last year, I jumped into a Christmas meet, NPL meet. I didn't total as much, but like the money I got went to kids to get them Christmas presents.
Yeah.
Or like the meet I did in July, I donated $1,000 for book bags and for my church. So like I feel like, okay, I'm not putting up bigger total, but I'm doing this for like a glory that a lot of people won't understand.
Yeah. So where's that come from? Where's the roots of that come from in you?
I think just having a calling from God now, like he'll speak through me and be like I will hear this little voice, like I'll be sitting there in church or something, or my wife will be driving and I'll hear this voice like, hey, hop in this meet, you're going to win it. And it has like super amount of pressure on me. Like I feel like this tremendous pressure because I'm like, I'll even text my pastor. I'm like, hey, I just want you to know I'm going to, if all goes well, I'm going to donate $1,000 to the church. And he's like, awesome, man. Like, that's so cool. And then I feel like this pressure. I'm like, man, what if I lose?
Yeah.
Or what if something happens? So yeah, I just feel like I'm very into my faith now. So I just feel like I'll hear his voice and he'll say, yeah, like, I don't need to make money off powerlifting. Like I have a good job, not to brag or anything, but let's be honest, none of us ever going to make a lot of money. So I'm like, why not use this talent that he's given me for the gift he's given me to glorify him and then, show younger kids. Cause like what this brand here, Strong Nobody, we do a lot for charity. So it's like at the end of the day, we're all strong, but we're nobodies in the real world. So it's like, why not, if I can impact a young kid or somebody in the community, be like, look where this dude came from and look what he's doing with his life and look what he's doing for the glory of God. Like, why can't I do that? Or why can't I do something? Like everybody has something special about them. It's just, you got to find what it is.
Yeah. So those would be, let's say like from a competitive level, like 3-tier meets. I mean, they're not top tier meets.
Yeah.
So and the spectators of that really, a 600-pound squat.
Oh yeah. They see me squat like 700 to like, oh my God, this dude's a freak.
So it's not really that disruptive to your training.
And like I could for real go 3 for 9 and win some of those meets. Like that WRPF meet, I had a horrible performance and still won. And I felt like shit and I still won.
Yeah. So before this recent change, because you really don't know how this in season is going to play out.
Yeah.
How were your past in seasons? Like, how would you lay your training out?
So I think the best meet prep I ever had was that 21:38 in sleeves I did at the MPL meet. I was actually training with Fernando Aries. I don't know if you ever met him. He's a freaking monster. He came on the scene. Like I met him in Allentown. It was so funny. I saw him at a meet, and he pulled like 782 his first ever meet. And then he came to our gym. Me and my brother were training at Ambition Nutropoli. And he's like, yo, I want to train with you guys. We're like, yeah, cool, dude. Like, nice kid.
782.
And I'm like, I see him like, this dude has potential.
Yeah.
Then he starts training with us. He's training with us. And then all of a sudden he's squatting 800 pounds, benching 500, deadlifting 900. I'm like, where did this freak come from? Like, he's a monster now. I'm like, this dude is like, was below me a year ago. And now he's like above me, passing me. And he's up there with the top guys in the country. So I think that was what, like having him there, we motivated each other. So I do need to get back to like training with guys like that again, because that was like the best meet prep I ever had, because I had him there, my brother there, and we were all just like competing against each other. So I think sometimes I say training alone is better, but I like having competition like that because like it elevated him. I think he hit like 22 plus in sleeves.
So when you're laying your training out for that, is it progressive overload? Is it normal periodization? How did you guys lay this out? Just so what a week look like?
So Dom would have me like, I felt like it was more like, it might have been more, it was like kind of RPE based.
Yeah.
How it seemed like. So we would like peak for the meet. So like, I felt like 6 weeks out, we might be doing if I was trying to max at 804, 6 weeks out, we might be doing like 694 for 3. And then the following week, it would be a heavy squat, light deadlift. Then it would be heavy deadlift, light squat. So
kind of like the Lily Bridge, old school Lily Bridge model.
Yeah. So like, I felt like the week I had a heavy squat, I never had a heavy deadlift that week.
Okay.
That's how he programmed me. So.
And the frequency was each lift once a week, or was it?
Yeah, once a week. Yeah, just because like I work a lot. I work a lot of overtime. I'm doing 16-hour shifts a lot and working 40 plus hours a week.
Yeah, we'll get into shift work here.
Yeah, so it was like sometimes where I'm only able to train 3 or 4 days a week. So he was really good at programming me for that.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt like, I think it would be like just based on like, because it was like a total weight, how many pounds we lifted that day, calculated at the end of it. So
it's kind of based over 2-week blocks.
Yeah. Well, it would be 4-week blocks. Yeah. Because like we always had a deload at 4th week. Yeah.
Okay. But if you're looking at it and you're laying it all out, you got squat heavy 1 week, squat light, squat.
Yeah. I always felt like when I squatted heavy, I benched heavy too that week.
Okay.
That's what it felt like.
Was the bench frequency once a week or twice a week?
Once a week.
Okay.
He did add an accessory day from like, sometimes it would be a squat or a bench, depending what was lagging. It would be like a speed day type thing or like a incline, or he would mix it up for me.
I'm going to kind of roll my eyes and say, how often did you really do that?
Nah, I didn't do it.
Okay.
No.
I know how this is.
I would come in and do like some cardio and accessories, and that's it.
Yeah. So you based upon how you felt, though, too.
Yeah.
Because
I go a lot now with how, I think to be good at this sport, you have to go off how your body feels.
Yes.
Because there'd be times I come in the gym, and I'd be like, say it was like 500 for 3 bench and I felt my arm hurting, I might just go 475 for 3 and text coach, be like, hey, it just was like, it's early in the morning, wasn't feeling it today. Because my wife knows this, like if I miss a lift in prep, I get in my own head. I'm like, I'm going to bomb out of this meet. I'm going to suck. And it was just one bad day. Like, what did you do the day before that? Well, I worked 16 hours, babe, and wasn't really hydrated, didn't eat food. And she's like, yeah, exactly. Go in after work one day when you're fresh and see what you do then. And she's like, would always get me through that stuff.
Well, it's an interesting concept because I've always said, if, to be great, you got to learn how to auto-regulate kind of time. It kind of rhymes, but how would you, if you were mentoring somebody to try to explain that to them, how do you explain that to them? Because you may feel like there's so many decisions that you're making from the time that you leave the house and actually get under the bar for your top weight.
Yeah.
You may feel like crap. You may not feel like crap. You may, all these decisions are being made. And I think, the people that stick right to the plan, right to the paper all single time, they're not realizing all these little tiny decisions that are being made. You could be working up and everything feels fantastic, but then couple warm-up sets it doesn't, so maybe you repeat a warm-up set just to be sure.
I've done that a lot too, where I've dropped back down and been like, all right, yeah, you feel good, okay, let's go. Yep.
So how do you try to explain that to somebody if it's a friend of yours that's coming up in the sport and you really give a fuck?
I think you just got to make them learn, like, so like, hey, you feel like shit today, all right, let's see where you're at, and if you didn't hit it today, well, now you know what your body feels like that day, and you might not, maybe it's best not to max out that day. Like, I'm so comfortable with my body now. I can, on the way to the gym, it's funny to say, I'll have my music on with the wife, or I'll just be by myself, and I can tell I'm dialed in. Like, I'm going to hit this lift today. But there's days, for real, like, I can kind of tell when I'm on the way to the gym, I'm like, it's going to be a rough one today.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm so mentally dialed in before I get there. Like, it's hard, too, because I think people think I'm an asshole sometimes. I'm like, I'm not. Or I'm, like, focused. Like, I'm here to train. Like, I'll go to Dom's gym up in Wilkes-Barre. It's like 30 minutes from my house, and music's on, headphones on. I always do the same tradition. I warm up on a treadmill for like 10 to 15 minutes, get the hips loose, and I get there, and like, I can tell I'm dialed in then. But then there's days where I'm like, this is like walking on a treadmill trying to get loose. I'm like, I don't think it's going to be there today.
Yeah, so walk me through how that day proceeds.
Right? So, like, from start to finish. So
So you walk on the treadmill, and it's
I don't like waking up and lifting early in the morning anymore, because like I work 2 to 10 shifts. So when I wake up, I have to have like food in me. I feel like now, and be hydrated, because if I wake up and try to go to the gym at 9 a.m., I know it's gonna be a bad lift. I don't know if it's just mentally. I just tell myself like I can't lift heavy anymore in the morning unless it's like a meet day.
Yeah.
So I'll usually train around 3 or 4 when I know I have good spotters there and there's more people there. But I'll get like 2 meals in me before I go, make sure I'm hydrated. And I think I've had way more success now lifting in the afternoon, because 2 meet preps before that, I tried to deadlift early in the morning. I ended up straining my back.
Yeah.
So maybe now it's just stuck in my head, like, all right, you can't lift early in the morning heavy lifts except bench. Like, bench is the only lift I can do early in the morning and feel fine.
Yeah. Okay. So you're on the treadmill, but it doesn't feel good. Okay? Yeah. So how's that day proceed?
I think I still just go with it. I'll work up to, so say we have a max of 705 for 3. I'll work up. I'll do 606. And if that feels good, I'll just jump right to 705. There's no in between. But if it feels shitty, might take 680, 670 for a single. But if that feels crappy, I'm like, yeah, I'm not doing it today. Not risking, or if something like nagging, like, you know, you have those little injuries or something straining, like it's not worth it.
Yeah. All right. So then let's say that happens.
Yeah.
And then it happens another week, the next week.
Yeah.
Right. That's when the frustration starts to build too, by the way. But then how's that week proceed? Do you just, at that point, do you say, screw it and force it?
It depends how far out I am from a meet.
Yeah.
So if I'm like real close to a meet, I'll hit as close as I can to that. Like this last meet prep I did for the ABS, felt like my right quad starting to be a little sore when I was getting real deep in the hole, and I'm like, oh shit, don't hope this doesn't pop or something bad. So just shut it off in my mind, get under the bar, and I would just like, all right, you have to hit at least 700, because if you're opening up at 705 and you want to hit 760, in my head I need to have that confidence that like, okay, you're right there with this leg. So yeah, I would just go do it. Just shut everything off and just do it.
Summer's here and so is the heat. I've spent most of my life training in unconditioned gyms, and I know most of you that are training in garage gyms, private gyms, black iron gyms, know what I'm talking about when I say the heat sucks. It kills your motivation to go to the gym. It kills your performance, but it doesn't have to if you keep your electrolytes up. That's why today's episode is sponsored by Element. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink with everything you need and nothing you don't. This means lots of salt with none of the junk. No sugar, no colors, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. It contains an electrolyte ratio of 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams of potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium. Element can help prevent and eliminate headaches, muscle cramps, fatigue, brain fog, sleeplessness, and other common symptoms associated with electrolyte deficiency. Right now, Element is offering a free sample pack with any drink mix purchase. Get yours at drinkelement.com. This deal is only available through the Table Talk link. So with the meat that you said was what you would consider one of your best preps, how did the accessories play out?
I think I was doing less accessories when I have successful
What's
meet preps.
less mean?
Like I won't do like any.
Okay,
I'll just come in the gym and do the main lift and maybe one accessory, like something. But so I don't know. My CNS sometimes feels so fried that I can't do anything.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's because my body's took such a beating over these years, but I'll legit get done my squat sets, even the drop downs, and just be like, I can't do anything else.
Yeah. So what would that one accessory be, assuming that the rest is being?
I've always been a big fan of doing like a leg press or something with like hamstrings. So something like leg press or like a hamstring curl or hamstrings. Like we have that pit shark. I'm a big fan of that. That always works.
What type of volume are you talking about?
Just like 3 sets, 12 reps.
Okay.
Yeah, just something to keep it loose.
All right. Then on the bench day, what would that movement be?
Bench, I do a lot. I pretty much do all my accessories, I feel like. Yeah, bench, I do all the accessories.
Okay.
So I'll do my max, come down. I think it's just because you like to look good. You're like, oh.
Well, it's that. And that doesn't take the same amount out of you.
No. And I just think everybody's like, oh, you want to have good arms or good shoulders, so you're going to do the accessories on bench day.
What would be your go-to accessories for bench day?
So I was not a big dumbbell person, but watching like some of these bodybuilder guys that I see are super strong, I've always been like deep incline dumbbell or even doing like a flat bench dumbbell after I got done barbelling, just because I feel like I can really feel the strain then. And sometimes I feel like you can feel your weaknesses when you're doing the dumbbells because you're holding them, and you could see what's like lagging when you're doing a little bit heavier.
Have you seen any accessory movement that you felt had a direct correlation to the bench? For instance, if it wasn't in there, your bench started to feel like shit.
If I don't do triceps, like if I'm not doing like tricep push downs or like the extensions, like I feel like they help me with my lockout. If they feel strong, my lockout will be good bench day.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that the reason I'm asking that is sometimes that's the indicator where you'll be blowing them all off until one of your work sets, your lockout feels a little more grindy than what it should be. Yeah. But then you're like, oh shit, then you hit the extensions again and then boom, it comes right back.
Yeah. I definitely feel that. Yeah. I think like I like doing the 10 in, 10 out on the push downs. I always feel like that like really tore my so I'll do like 10 and 10. I always feel like that really helped my triceps.
Okay, so while you're in this new phase, everything's new.
Yeah, it all is, because like I was doing you should see me doing scarecrows the other day, and I'm like doing this to up, and I'm I feel like such an idiot, but I was so sore the next day. I told my wife, I'm like, man, my shoulder, like I must be like really weak on these weaknesses, because I was doing scarecrows, and he had me doing something else he had me doing. I can't think of the name, but like it was like you start here, work your way up.
Yeah.
And they like had me like smoked for a whole day.
Like the delts or upper back?
It was like from my delts and my biceps too were just like on fire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me about the Showdown meet.
So this was pretty awesome. I think this is what really helped me elevate my powerlifting career, because I was doing RPS meets, and when Gene was there, like RPS was like the #1 federation. I felt like when Gene was still alive
in your area, for sure.
Yeah, like PA, Jersey, New York. Yeah. So like everybody was doing the meets, and then I just stuck with them because like I didn't know where else meets were, because I'm still a young kid, and you know, I didn't know anything about what standards were. I was just lifting, getting under a bar and lifting weight and making sure I got white lights. Yeah.
So, well, I mean, if you're at college at the same time, travel's not really an option to get to meets and things like that.
Yeah. And this is like right after college for me. And so this is like, I'm out of college at this point. I'm like working. And so, I did an RPS meet. I hit 2,050 in sleeves, I think it was. And I got destroyed on the internet for squatting high. Okay. So I did an RPS meet. I think I squatted 750 at 242. And
so how'd you take that?
That was rough, because I'm like, you're young. I'm like 28 at the time, and getting destroyed by like all these dudes on here, and like, you freaking squat high. And honestly, at the time, I was like, all right, I'm gonna fight these people, because that's like you're.
Did it work?
No, like it was his name was Gareth Fear. He's a good dude now. I got to meet him at the Showdown. I'll get into that. And then Joey Sullivan, like really good dude. But they were like, you think they're coming at you? Like, people get so many egos. I look back on it now, and I'm like, my ego was so big. Like, he wasn't coming at me as a person. He wasn't saying like, I hope you die.
No, he's criticizing your lift.
Yeah, and I couldn't take that, because no one's ever done that to me before. Yeah. So that like really bothered me. I'm like, you'll see. Like, I'm blah 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 blah, and that was hard to deal with, because I'm like, why is he coming at me? I see other people squatting high. Why me? And I'm getting like all these dudes commenting and messaging me like, you squat high. And it's like these little tweebs too. I'm like, dude, I bench more than you squat. Shut up. Yeah. But getting into it, I got the invite for the Showdown meet. I was talking to the wife. She was actually pregnant at the time, which was funny. I was like, I need to go out there and prove myself. Like, I'm going to go out there and dunk this squat and shut everybody up, because they were talking about me on a podcast. Like, even John Hack was talking about me. He's like, they were doing a rundown of the Showdown. They're like, going over each weight class, and they're like, yeah, Nick Forte, you know, I don't know if he's going to make it. I think he might bomb out. And that just stuck in my head. I would replay this every single day, over and over again. Like, he's going to bomb out. Every squat workout, he's going to bomb out. I don't know. He's a strong kid, but I think he might bomb out. This is a different standard. So I would be on the way to the gym playing this over and over again. You're going to bomb out. Got with Dom. I was driving 2.5 hours. I was still living in State College. I would drive to Dom's gym in Allentown and just work on my squat with him, work on hitting depth. So that's how focused I was.
So when you're working on hitting depth, are you relying on people there to tell you, or are you
feeling? No, he was pretty good with that. He would tell me like, bro, you're gonna have to get a little bit lower.
Right.
So he was telling me like, yeah.
Well, that's an important thing, right? Yeah. Because a lot of times you'll have those guys that.
No, honestly, too, like I had a good dude, Aaron Chappell. Yeah. He's a coach now, and he would be like messaging me. I'd send him my videos, and he'd be like, bro, it's close. Like, you might have to dunk a little bit lower. So then, like that came, I got the invite. I told the wife, I'm like, we're going to Kansas City. Like, I'm doing this meet. So then I go out there, like warm-up room. I just felt like this ease come over me. I was just dunking my squats. Like, they were so low. Like, I felt so good. I'm in the warm-up room, you know, my flight comes up, go up there. I think I open up at like 690 and I just bury it. Like, I felt my ass was touching the ground. Like, I have a picture of it.
How was that related to the one that was being criticized?
Oh, it felt so much better.
No, weight-wise.
Oh, it felt light. Like, it just felt good.
How much was the weight you were being criticized on?
I got criticized at 750.
All right, so 750, so 690. So
yeah.
You dumped that.
Yeah, so I get that. I smoked that. Go to 716.
Okay.
Monolift, smoked that, 3 white lights. I felt a little tweak in my quad. I think I tried 740 and I just didn't come out of the hole with it. But I was real proud of myself, because I'm like, all right, you did 716, 7 whatever, pretty close. PR'd my bench that day and PR'd my squat and hit 2011, which was only like a few pounds off of my best total, which is funny because there's a lifting vault. It's a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
He actually made a video about me on there saying Nick Forte was criticized for squatting high, and he went to the Showdown meet and buried his squats. So I got a lot more respect from like the top guys. Like I remember seeing John there, and he's on zone smelling salts. I mean, he gave me a fist bump. He's like, "Bro, I'm not gonna lie, I thought you're gonna bomb out. You impressed me." And then I just felt like this good. Like Gary Fear came up to me, we shook hands. He's like, "Hey man, it was nothing personal. Like, do you feel better now that you did this at the standard?" And I'm like, "I really do. Like, now I got respect from all the top guys."
Well, going back though, did you know that that was the standard, right? Because
I really didn't, because I'm like lifting an RPS, and I didn't like, and it's hard because like, what is the standard? Like it feels like it changes every month for me. It's like I'm going to like below parallel, but if you look at the picture on USPA or WRPF, it says the top was the top of the knee below the hip, and I feel like I'm there sometimes, and then I'm like, are we doing USAPL standards where we have to like sit on our heels? Like what is the standard now? So it's just very inconsistent meet to meet.
Yeah, well, I would say the standard is whatever the judge is calling for that day because it's a competition.
Yeah, and that's what sucks is like now I just bury them every single time, just try to get as low as I can and come up. Like you can kind of, you know how it is when you're experienced, you can feel when you're hitting that spot. And now I've got so good that I know that's the spot I have to hit.
Okay. So what was the meet after the Showdown then?
I did a local USPA meet for money. It was like in Bethlehem, Forge Steel meet. Hit pretty much similar total, but won money to donate it. That's when I really started just doing these meets to donate money.
Okay.
Because then I hit 2,000. Yeah, I hit like 2,000, right? I think I hit 2008. So it was underneath it. It was walkout though. So I had people criticizing me, oh, he did it in a monolift. So then I was like,
you realize you can't
can't. So that's what I realized too. I think that's one reason why I did it too, is everybody's like, oh, you did 716 in a monolift. You can't walk it out. So then I walked it out in a USPA, same weight, dunked it, 716. I was like, now what are you going to say? And then I just learned to just stop listening to it altogether.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm beating up my body. I just did back-to-back meets because people were like, oh, he didn't walk it out. Yeah.
With, as you're leading into this next one, you know, part of that conversation that you had with Greeno, how much of that conversation was, here's the things that I've determined work for me?
Yeah.
And
so
what are some of those things?
So that's what we talked about on FaceTime. I told him, I'm like, when I get closer to a meet, I don't like going super heavy, like 2 weeks out. I like resting. I don't lift the whole week of the meet. I know people have different, like I'll see different philosophies where people are like, oh, you got to get underweight. Like I like to just chill that whole week. Like I'll do cardio, I'll walk. I mean, I work at a job where I'm walking a lot. I don't want to lift that whole week. So me and him talked about that. I'm like, I like doing my heavy lifts about 3 weeks out, my last heavy lift. Then 2 weeks I like doing like openers. And he's like, okay. So it was cool because he like did like a whole questionnaire with me. He's like, what have you seen benefit your training? I'm like, I feel like when I do a lot of volume, I feel good, but I don't get real strong. Like I'll feel more agile, athletic, but I feel like for me to get strong, I have to do like that 3 to 5 rep range. And he's like, okay, cool. That sounds good. So he took all these questions, took all the information, and he put it into a program now. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited to start with him.
What were some of the other things outside of those two that you know in your head? I mean, you've been doing this for damn near a decade, right? Yeah. Within training beforehand. So, I mean, those are two major things.
Yeah.
You know, what are some of the minor things?
Just the health, like feeling the healthy part. I think when I do feel my body getting beat down, like I might message him and be like, yo, can we back off? Like, I can't keep going. Like, a part of the problem I feel like when I was with my old coach was like, it just felt like it was like heavy. Like, it would be like 660 for 3, 670 for 3, 680 for 3. And it's like, I want to come in and do maybe 683 the week before and then do a single the next week. So, it's just hard for me to find that balance because I've been doing this a long time. And for me to find what works for me, it's just like, I feel like how I feel that day. Like you said, I'll come in that day and be like, are these triples wearing me down too much? So I don't know. I think just not wearing my body down. I have to like learn how to maintain my body now.
So how do you go about the injury management? Right? Because as you get closer to a meet, yes, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So then you got to mitigate it. So if we use your lower back, for instance, let's say you have a training session and it's jacked up the next day. What do you do?
Honestly, it's the wife helps. She'll just work. She does cupping, scraping. I do a lot of deep tissue massages now. Like I go like once a month. So I think that's what's been helping keep me healthy because she'll work on me. She'll do like all types. She'll have me stretch. She'll put all the cups on and I'll do like the figure fours and like I'll stand there, she has me do like 3 different exercises, and that's what's honestly kept me healthy now. Like I feel good right now because we work on my body like once a week now with her.
Yeah.
So,
and before you weren't doing that?
No, before I met her, dude, it was just, before I met my wife, it was just, I don't even know. I didn't even do deep tissue massage or anything.
So how did you work your way around, or did you work? Because there's working around, there's working through, then there's just not doing anything.
I think
most of the time it's working through.
I just worked through everything. Yeah.
All right. So with that working through that, was it, say if it's the biceps, tendonitis, or changing your grip? Is there anything that you're doing?
Definitely. I feel like I changed my bench grip. So I used to like, actually we'll say squat first. Squat, I used to just squeeze the bar like I was doing a lat pull down, and it would make the bar roll. I think while the bar was rolling, it would like make my forearms have more tension on them then, and more my biceps. So when I switched to that Townsend grip, I don't really feel the tendonitis at all anymore. Because I'm sure you felt like there was times where like my tendonitis would be so bad, I would bring a bench down and be like, oh my God, like it would hurt the whole way down. I'm bringing this bar down and it's like, and then you go to press and you're like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Yeah, there's no way around.
Icing it. The wife where she works has a machine called ARP Wave, and they would like, it sounds like a taser. It's like, and that helped heal it too. So she'd work on it there too. Yeah. So I think just working on the injuries in more like a physical therapy point of view helped it.
What other injuries have you had to work through?
The torn adductor. I did that before the American. That sucked. That one really hurt me too. Like I remember being like really upset. That was 2 years ago, prepping for American Pro 2, the first ever American Pro. Felt awesome. I weighed 255. I thought I was gonna put up 2100 or 242. Like I was deadlifting 800. Benching 5+, only weighed 252, so it wasn't going to be a hard weight cut for me because I've kind of learned how to cut weight at this point. My adductor popped on it was like 796 2 weeks out.
Okay, so how do you go? What would you do then?
That was rough. So
that's a tough one too, man, because all your heavy shit's done.
Yeah, like this might have been 3 weeks out because this is my last heavy squat. Yeah. This was my last heavy squat, yeah. And I felt it pop. The bar rolled off I like laying there. Then I was like, shit, what do I do from here? Like, I felt like it was a lot worse because it turned black and blue. Yeah. And like, it was like black and blue up on my like private area. And we were like, I was like real depressed. Like I'm on my way home. I'm like tearing up, crying to the wife. I'm like, all this work I put in, like this was the meet I was going to show up and shit. Like I seriously did. I felt so great that meet prep. Like for real, 2100, 242 was going to happen. And that happened. And she's like, hey, listen, you have me, you have your son. You know, you're going to work through this. This is just a setback. So, came home, had to drop out American Pro, and she's like, let's go to the beach. So I went to the beach the weekend of the American Pro and just like kept powerlifting off my mind. And then with her, we came up with like a rehab plan and had to rehab that. That was tough too because adductor's like scary because like when you get back under a bar, you're like so nervous every single time you go in the hole.
How long did you take off?
So I did that. Let's see when the American Pro was. Back then it might have been in July. Oh yeah, back then it was in July. So I actually came back pretty quick because I found out what peptides were. I think Phil Herndon messaged me. Phil's like, yo, you ever hear of BPC or TB500? I'm like, no. He's like, try it out. I think he had an injury and he's the one that told me about it. So I started doing that, pinning that, rehabbing, doing physical therapy with my wife. Like we're doing air squats, starting off basic. She has me squatting in living room, doing simple stuff like don't get under a bar for another month because then I start reading about like some tears you are supposed to get blood flow in there and start working it, but just not heavy. So it was funny because I ended up doing a meet in December then. So I toured in July. Yeah, I think I was back in December. I squatted like 690.
Yeah. How long was it until you could start really loading it?
Let's see. August, September, probably October-ish, November. So it's 3 micro tears. Like I had the ultrasound. We went to her. I went to the ER right away because I thought it was a full tear. Yeah, but it wasn't. So we went to her office on Monday and we looked at it and she's like, no, it's just 3 micro tears. Well, her boss, who's the PT, he looked at it. He's like, no, it's just 3 micro tears. So you're good. It's like, I think it was a grade 2 maybe. Yeah. So he's like, you'll be all right. But it was just still scaring me because I never saw shit turn black and blue before. So then, it was like, he recommended I wait like a month to start training. I think it was like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later. That's when I started loading 225 on my back.
All right. So then how did that proceed from the reason I'm asking this is one of the questions people always want to know. Yeah. It's like, how do you guys come back from these injuries?
It was hard. I think, my buddy Dan Gavio sent me this video It was a motivational video. It was like how to overcome tears and injuries because he ruptured his bicep. And he sent me this video. I remember listening to it. It was like how to get over an injury. And it was a motivational, like it was just like talking you through it. And honestly, it's just getting rid of that fear again, just going in that zone. And I would just get under the bar and just like, I go real. I'm a slow squatter. I don't know if you saw my videos. Yeah. So I just go down real slow and then explode into the hole. And if it felt to pull at all, I would just back off that day and not do anything else.
Starting at 2 1/4.
Yeah.
Because the inhibition is really what hurts people the most.
Yeah, because you're just scared that it's going to tear again or something's going to pop. And I remember him telling me, Gavio, he's my chiropractor, he's like, you might feel scar tissue pop. He's like, don't get scared. It's just that happens with these injuries.
Yeah, so it's as that was progressing up, and granted, it wasn't 225 week 1, 245 week 2. So no. You're going based upon how you feel?
It was just all feeling, yeah. So I would just do like, I think I started with the safety squat bar. I think that's what I started doing. I started safety squat bar, maybe like 135. Then I worked my way up. And then it started to feel better. I'm starting to feel more confident. I think I went to a regular bar probably like a month later, squatted like 315. I'm like, wow, this feels pretty good. Then, you know, you just get that confidence. It's just building confidence. I think you just got to build confidence. Too many people, they just like think they're going to come back faster than they are. And some people can't come back from injuries. I've always been pretty fast recoverer. Like that was a pretty big injury. And I came back pretty quick from it. I think I competed in March at the XPC meet and totaled 2,100 there.
When did the oblique happen? Did it happen after that? You said you tore your oblique.
No, my lumbar. The lower lumbar. Yeah, that happened right after that 2,100 meet, 2,138.
Okay, so because sometimes you'll see one injury like the adductor.
Yeah, well, that's why I think the left side happened because the adductor, you're not, like my wife said it and my coach said too, he's like, I think you're putting all this pressure on that left leg and left side to accommodate the weakness of the right side now because the right adductor is weak. It's still weak to this day, I still feel, because I still feel sometimes when I squat out, I get a little nervous, but I think it's healed. It's just, I gotta get it out of my head.
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna say. Do you focus on when you come out of the bottom, making sure the force is being applied?
Yeah, so I've learned how to do that now. Actually, recently I've learned, like, because I kept wondering, like, why does my back keep flaring up? Like, when I get into these heavy deadlifts and squat, my lower back just will not stop flaring up. And sitting down, my wife should be a powerlifting coach because she'll talk to me. She'll be like, you're not pushing through your legs. Like, I can see that when you're coming down, you're favoring your left side. So I was like, from warm-ups, from the first time I noticed it, I just really started focusing, push your legs into the ground and feel that, and push your right knee out more. So I think I was not pushing that right knee out and just keeping it straight in. So it was like, I was like squatting like this.
Yeah, I know, I get it.
Yeah, so now I really emphasize pushing both legs out, and now my squat is, the lower back pain has like not been there as much now.
So if you were to go back to that 225 when you were starting, you would have made more of a conscious effort of trying to make both legs
Yeah, because that definitely is what held me off then from coming back, because you're just so nervous. I wish I would have thought about then, like, put a little bit more pressure through that leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I can feel it now that leg's like smaller, because when you put you know how you put your knee sleeves on, they're real tight, or you can feel the one leg's like smaller than the other, and I'm like, I think I'm favoring this left leg a little bit too much.
Well, there's going to be compensation patterns for sure.
Yeah.
You know, but they can get worse and worse and worse, you know, or you can figure out what you figured out.
Yeah, I just think, just the confidence part. Like, when you tear something, it's just, you can't think. And you know how today's society is. We all want it instantly. We all want to be fast. Just take your time. Like, you have nothing but time. Just heal it first, because you don't want to re-pop it or re-tear it. Just taking your time, coming up with a good plan. It's called rehab for a reason, you know? Yeah. And just take your time with that, and you'll come back. Especially if you want to come back.
Though, man. It's tough.
It is.
It's really tough. You know, I had pec issues.
I remember seeing your video. You tore your pec like twice, right?
Yeah, one had to be surgically repaired. The other one tore in half. But they would, scar tissue would tear. Yeah. There'd be re-tears. And I'd always try to find like the fastest way back. Then my bench would suck at a meet. Yeah. And one of my training partners at the time made a comment once that said, you know, if you would have just taken the other 3 weeks, you know, instead of, you know, like a full 6 weeks instead of just the 3, you would have benched way more. Yeah. And it's like, it took forever. I mean, 20 years deep in my career at that time.
Oh man.
And it's like, oh fuck, you're right, because this still it still ended up sucking, even though you rush it because you want to get back sooner.
Yeah.
But you rush it, you get back sooner, but then you don't like the outcome.
Yeah, because you're not hitting the numbers you were because you rush back too quick.
Yeah, worst case scenario, you take the full time and then you don't lift what you wanted to lift, which is probably going to be the same as what you ended up doing shitty, you know, and then still having to come back and rehab the whole thing the right way anyhow, which is a hard lesson to learn.
How do you think, like you train with a lot of those old school guys, you guys just train through injuries. How do you think it would have been different if you guys would have had some of like the peptides we have today?
We would have used them for sure because we were injecting saline like it was going out of style. So for me, that was a maintenance thing for my pecs. If I start getting into a meet, we would just inject saline basically every single week, after every speed day. Do
you think that it would have like made you guys elevate a lot more? Because you guys didn't have like the knowledge that we have today with like injury recovery. And
I don't know if it would have made us elevate even more. I think
train stupider, like, because you're like, oh, it's healing faster.
Well, it's backing down, you guys are training smarter.
Yeah, definitely.
Which is, that's part of the whole evolution of how a sport grows too. You got to learn from the mistakes, and the people, the ones coming up are going to learn from the mistakes that you're making, but they're going to make new mistakes and all the other kind of stuff. So, for that aspect, it was maybe not, because injuries are injuries. Yeah. It kind of comes through there. It's just, most of it was just like, fuck it.
It's just wild, some of the stuff they have, like where my wife works, like some of the machines they have now. And like, when we lived out in State College, she worked for a company called Atlas Therapy, and they would work on like Saquon Barkley and other people at this one place. And they'd have some of these machines I've never even heard of. Like there's like one that just sends electrical pulses through the muscle to help it heal like super fast. Like you'd be strapped. I remember they strapped me in this one thing, and it was crazy. I'm like, what does this even do? And he's like, oh, it's sending waves to here. I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
But it works. Yeah. I mean,
well, the goal is to not need that shit. Yeah. Because you're going to be overreaching, coming into a meet, right? Yeah. So if you need all that shit, 24 weeks out from a meet, I really question your training. Like, what are you doing? Or your sleep, nutrition, all the things.
That's speaking of sleep, that's tough because like me, I'll work 16 hours and I'm on cert too. It's our special teams. There was one time, got home from work at 10 o'clock. We got activated at like 11 o'clock at night. Had to be at the jail for 3 a.m. and then I'm there for 18 hours. And then trying to figure out training. It's like,
how have you managed that? Because what shift have you been on mostly?
2 to 10.
Okay.
So I'm 2 to 10 shift, and I work a lot double. So I'll be doing 6 to 2, 2 to 10. So I'm working 16 hours and then coming home, going to bed, waking up, training for bench, or if it's like close to meet prep, I have to get that lift in. But I've learned how to manage it because I get a lot of time off. Like I'll take a lot of days for comp. So it's funny, if I have a big meet coming up, I'll take like a day off work just to lift, and I'll be like, all right, so you have to train, because like, when you have it set up your schedule, like lift this day. So I'll take off, like if I'm off like Thursday, Friday that week, I'll take off Monday, because I know Monday afternoon I need to have a good squat session to get ready for the meet. So that helps me a lot. I'm fortunate enough I can take a day off whenever I want.
Okay, well that's good, because there's 2 ways people do this, right? So they'll accumulate the days and they just take the last 3 weeks off before a meet, which was always kind of weird to me. I don't. Because you're deloading anyhow. Yeah. And then the other way would be the way that you're speaking about. They're going to pick, here's the main training days. Yeah, because I have a full, like, my calendar book. I know every day I'm off. So, like I was telling Greeno that was one of the tough things I tell him. I'm like, there might be a week where I squat on, like, a Sunday, and I don't get to squat again until the following Monday. So it might be, like, 8 days apart. But there might be a week where I squat 6 days apart, and then, like 4 or 5 days apart because of how my off days land. And if my body feels good, and he's like, if me and him talk in the future, he's like, oh, if you feel good, go ahead and do it. Because it is tough to have balance, because like I might be off Sunday, Monday, Tuesday that week, when the following week I'm off Tuesday, Wednesday, and I don't really like deadlifting and squatting back-to-back days because sometimes I feel like I'm worn down. Yeah. I don't know how you feel if you're fine with training like back-to-back days like that. Well, most are going to be worn down from that.
So that's why I think a lot of the injuries start to happen too, because I'm working all this overtime, I'm training Tuesday and Wednesday, so I might be squatting, even though it's like a light deadlift. I just squat at 755 for 3. Then I'm deadlifting the next day 680 or something. You're still putting a huge toll and tension on your body.
Why not put the bench on that day and push the deadlift to where the bench day would be?
Because then I feel like I got to deadlift early in the morning. Then
oh, okay.
I don't want to lift early in the morning.
Okay.
But I mean, I could, but it's just hard because like it's hard to sacrifice now. Like when I work 2 to 10, I want to be home in the morning with my son and my wife, especially working like 1 double a week. So it's like I could wait and lift till like 11 where I'm more alert and I'm more awake, but then it's like I go right to work then. Mm-hmm. So it's hard to find that balance.
Well, that's the whole point of the conversation is how you're mitigating to try to figure that out.
Well, what's cool is she's cool. Like she'll bring my son with me and he's awesome. He'll be like, should see him like, cause I shake on my deadlift. So he'll be at home. He'll just be picking up a dumbbell, like shaking his legs, locking it out. And so, yeah, they come with me to the gym cause Dom, the owner of Ambition's cool with it. And he has like a big section, like couches and stuff where he just hangs out with her.
Yeah.
And,
how old is he?
He's he'll be 3 in January.
So how did your training change after that?
Definitely my wife's super supportive and she knows that that's my outlet. Like I work every day, she works a couple days a week. She does per diem stuff and she knows this is my outlet. Cause like, man, the prison could be a rough place. Like you're dealing with convicted felons. You're dealing with dudes like they might be talking shit to you all day long because they're behind a door. And that's all mental shit that you're dealing with. Like, I don't really let it get to me, but it does. Like, you have guys talking shit to you, saying crazy stuff to you. So the gym is my way out of it. Like, I go to the gym, I decompress. I'll never be that dude that snaps out and loses my cool because I lose my cool in the gym. That's my out. Like, that's where I let everything go.
Now, when you were getting blasted online for that squat, were you working in the prison at that time?
Yeah.
And that bothered you the same?
Yeah, it did.
In
for
your
real.
face by fucking convicted felons?
I mean, so you gotta think some of them are pretty smart. Like they'll keep on you, and they're behind a door. As I work in a restricted housing unit most of the time. And they're just like talking shit to you every round, like, open this door, pussy, see what happens. I'm like, dude, come on, we're not doing this today. Like, but like honestly, learning how to talk to them and just treat them with respect is like a lot of guys love me because I lift weights. So you have like inmates, like there's a dude named Beetle. I don't know if you've ever heard his name. He squatted 1,000 pounds in prison.
Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
at Rockview, where I worked, and I saw a dude on my wing. I'm like, this dude squatted 1,000 pounds. He's on my wing.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Like I said, a lot of guys respect me because I lift, and I just treat them with respect. And
he's still lifting?
Yeah, I think he's still lifting. Yeah, he still lifts in the gym.
Because I remember reading about him in Powerlifting USA.
Yeah, I know. That's
20-some years ago.
I think he still does it here and there. Not as much, but yeah.
Because they would let him out. Well, they not let him out.
Yeah, they take him on a transport.
Yeah, he would go to meets and shit like that.
Yeah, there's this guy, Rick Wetzel. He's like the one that started all that. I guess his wife was like CC Holcomb or something, like a world record powerlifter. I think that was his wife.
And you guys still have weights in there?
So mine right now, I'm at like a level 4. We have weights in the yard and weights in the gym, but there's no more weights in any yard of any state prison.
Okay.
At least in Pennsylvania, I'm aware of. Like ours has a couple free weights, but they have to go down to the gym to lift.
Well, I know they changed that because that's what Vogelpohl did, right?
Yeah.
While I was training with him during that time, there was, I don't know if it was after like the Lucasville riots or whatever it was.
You ever hear about that? You ever watch that
documentary? Yeah. I remember when it was going on.
Yeah, that's scary.
But that weights are gone.
Yeah, that's when they took him out of PA probably around that time too.
And that was basically his job was more rec. And so it went from that to like, I'm like, so it goes from that to like baseball, like a fucking bat is better than a plate, which has always seemed weird.
It's funny though, like I'll have random guys come up to me and be like, yo, what do you think about this for bench or squatter? Because like, what really sucked is being I'm from the area and I'm well known. WNEP, a local news station, wanted to interview me because they heard I was donating money and doing like these big meets. So it got played all throughout.
Oh shit!
They have cable.
I saw that video. I didn't think about that.
So I'm like, dudes are coming up to me like, oh man, I didn't know you put up numbers like that. You're a power lifter. I'm like, now these kind of guys know where I'm from and like all this shit. I'm like, damn.
Was it a net good or net
net good? Because they don't want to mess with you because, like, dude, this squat's 100 pounds. And they're respectful about it. They're like, yo, that's cool that you do all that stuff. And I didn't know you were that strong because it's funny when normal people don't understand what a 500-pound bench or 700, like when they hear 700-pound squat, they're like, oh my God. But like when I go to meets or when I explain to my buddies in the prison that I work with, like I have a good group of guys, they'll be like, dude, you squat 700 pounds. That's insane. I'm like, yeah, it's not really though, because I'm comparing myself to the top guys in the world. Like everybody I meet, they'll be like, you lift 500 pounds, you deadlift 8. I'm like, yeah, it's not that impressive.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's well, it's kind of the same as when you go into the gym that you were talking about, where all these guys are lifting 700 pounds.
Yeah.
From people pulling 400 pounds.
Yeah.
The perspective changes. When all you're competing in is a top meet.
Yeah.
Those perspectives, they all change.
I respect anybody that will put up numbers. Like,
yeah, but the way you see the numbers change. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
It is wild because, like, I remember for real, like, 800-pound deadlift was like, back in, what is this, 2015 maybe? Was like, oh my God, he hit 800-pound deadlift. Now guys are just pulling 800 like all the time. Mm-hmm. Like, I know I watched your podcast with Pete, and like when he came through, he was like a freak of freaks, but nowadays he's like, would be right there with some of us now. Like he'd still be like top guy, but not like what he was then. Yeah. And it's probably what actually probably got him out of the sport, is realizing like, I can't keep doing this.
Well, I think it's going to happen to everybody, right?
Yeah, that's what's going through my mind now too. Cause I'm like I told you, that 2200 goal. Yeah. And like, I'm not going to be that guy that's like, well, let's go 2250. No, that's the goal. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to hit.
And then what's the plan after that?
I want to get back, like I want to coach wrestling again or football. Okay. So I want to be more like athletic, and I'm sick of being like 270 wearing a CPAP and being out of breath. Like I remember I responded to a fight once in the jail, and I got there, I'm like I was on tread, so I'm like,
oh God,
thank God they stopped fighting, because I only had like 10 seconds left to me, because I ran like from our yard across, it was probably 200 yards, and I'm like sucking. You should have heard me. I was like, oh man, this is not good. Like that's,
well, you got to hide it too, man. You don't want everybody to see it.
Yeah, and then for like cert, we have to run a mile, and I could barely run a mile. I'm like, this is not good. Like I want to be able to run.
Do you still have to do the cert?
Yeah, we just did it like 2 weeks ago. We had to run a mile. We had to do an obstacle course. And the mile isn't as bad, but it's when you put that gas mask on. If you're not comfortable with a gas mask and you're doing this, so we'll do like a dummy drag. Mm-hmm. You pick this dummy, you carry it for like 25 yards, go up this ladder, over a horseshoe, under a horseshoe, over and under these blocks, cinder block carry, and you like sprint 25 yards, you load a gun, unload it. Yeah. But that gas mask on, like I've seen dudes panic, and especially like, if you do a cell extraction and you have that gas mask on, I've seen dudes like freak out and panic because they're not used to just control your breathing. Mm-hmm. And I think wrestling helped me with the gas mask. And when you're gassed, you have to learn to just And that's what a gas mask is. You just got to learn to control your breathing. So
you have to maintain a certain level of fitness all year round too.
Because other jails might not take their run serious, but my team leader does. He's like, we're running, because I know other teams in the state that like, we don't run. And I'm like, well, my guys do. They're like, we're the standard, we're gonna run. And I'm like, dude, I'm a professional athlete, I don't have to run. I'll joke with them, I'll be like, I'm a powerlifter, I don't have to run. And he's like, well, you're running, bud.
Yeah. Well, some of the light cardio though will play into your ability to recover from
that's what I mean sessions. This fast-paced meet at abs, because I'm in pretty good shape. Like you can see a lot of big boys towards the end were getting gassed, and that kind of killed me on my deadlift. Like my buddy Chap messaged me, he's like, you did your last deadlift 5 minutes apart from your one before that. I'm like, holy shit. So I did my second deadlift, 5 minutes later did my third deadlift, because that was like fast paced. I think the meet was 2.5 hours. Yeah. And that's what keeps powerlifting entertaining. Did you get a chance to watch it at all?
Yeah.
So it was like super fast. Like that's what meets, like why not do two to three sessions like that? You know what I mean? Like that's how you keep people entertained, because like we're just going one after another. And one thing that sucked is I didn't know, the foreign guys told me to help us, you should put a number in so that 1 minute timer goes off, but people weren't doing that. So it was like,
oh yeah,
I guess you could put a number in and just take the white light so it would run a minute off. So nobody did that. So then I'm like, just got done this second deadlift, kind of a grind, not to get myself mentally prepared to do this third deadlift, which I ended up missing at lockout. Like I locked it out, but got 3 red lights.
So basically you're just passing your second pull.
No, I did my second pull too.
No, but that's what they were doing.
Yeah, well, I think some of them were just like, we had 2 guys get hurt, like that Hagen, he squatted 900, and then I think he said he was telling me too, which is weird. We were on our way to weigh-ins together, and I was asking him first time I met him, like, how you feel? I saw him on Instagram, like, I know you were struggling with a pec injury. He's like, yeah, I'm a little nervous, man. He's like, I'm just going to send it. And I think he did. And then he ended up like tweaking it real bad, so he couldn't even deadlift. And then my buddy I trained with, Delco, Joe Jackson, he ended up popping his bicep on his deadlift. So there was 2 guys out there.
Which speeds it up even more.
Yeah, and then I think what's his name didn't take a third. What was his name? He's super strong. He's like 38 years old. He's been in, can't think of his name right. Oh, Demarius Slocum. He's like super strong, but in this powerlifting shit for like, he's probably done like 40 meets. He's 38 years old. He's a freak.
Yeah.
He did a meet like a week later after that.
Wow.
And then Frank Allen, did you see? He did 2 back-to-back meets where he totaled a kilo and a kilo. He totaled 1K. It's insane.
Yes.
Back-to-back days. I'm like, that's insane.
There are 3 key factors that are holding your strength back, and in my opinion, the third is the most important. We have covered all these factors on the Table Talk podcast. The guests that I bring out, we're not looking for science-based, and we're not looking for bro science. What I'm looking for are the guests that can help you become stronger. When you look at each one of those camps, they all attribute the success to the people outside of their camps as being outliers. Well, in my opinion, over my 4 decades in the sport, I'm pretty well convinced we're all outliers because everything works for everybody for some period of time. When the focus is on one of these 3 things. First is the physical attribute. That's going to be the genetics, the biology, the recovery, the nutrition, the programming. This is generally where everybody wants to go first. Thus why you see such an overemphasis on program hopping, PEDs, nutrition, certain critical, minute gray areas of all these factors. That's why it's clickbaitable, because this is where everybody wants to go first, but I don't think it's the most important. The second, the mental attributes. This is the psychology that's associated with training, the mindset, the motivation, the focus, not just to the point of how you prepare yourself before a big lift, but how you're preparing your day, how you're preparing your life. Again, if you've been following the Table Talk podcast, you're going to see that these are all reoccurring topics that keep coming up and up. But the most important one is next. To me, the most important aspect is the technical aspect. The technical aspect is how you take all these attributes and you put them together, and it's also the technical aspects of how you perform each and every one of those lifts. The reason why I say this is the most important is because it's the last place anybody wants to look if their strength isn't progressing. For instance, how many times have you heard people ask, what exercise do I need to do to make my bench bigger? What exercise do I need to do to make my quads bigger? What kind of diet should I do to be able to bulk up or to get leaner? How often do you hear somebody say, what's the best way to put all these variables together? What's the best way to perform an exercise for the outcomes that I'm looking for? This is why we've set up the crew. With the crew, we have 3 tiers. The first tier is just if you want to help support the podcast. We appreciate the support. If it wasn't for your support, we wouldn't have a Table Talk podcast. So tier 1 will give you badges, which I guess are like a popular thing. I don't know, but we appreciate the support and we could use the support. The second tier gives you ad-free podcast, an extra AMA podcast, plus all the fun badges. The third tier is our full Discord crew membership. This is where you'll have access to the community of like-minded individuals that are focusing on pushing their strength to the next level. You'll also have access to webinars, extra content, AMAs, ebooks, programs. There's so much in there, it's hard for me to list everything. And if I did, this video would go too long. Whether you want to just support the podcast or have extra content or have a deeper connection and take your training to the next level, we have a tier for you. Click the join button. Yeah, I can remember a lot of meets that I did. I would pass my, well, I hated the deadlift anyhow, but I'd pass my second, just to give more time. Yeah. But then see what I had to pull. Yeah. Let everybody else kind of play their cards. That's smart. Yeah. And then you can kind of figure out from there what has to happen. But sometimes you end up on a shitty end of a total because what you need to pull might be 10 pounds more than what you've ever pulled. Then you miss it. Then you're stuck with a shitty
Well, that's opener. What sucks too. That's a big struggle I have where I totaled, 2,045 at, So if I would have hit that 788, I would have been at 2060. So it's like, what if I would have just went like 771 and been at 2050 then? So that's what sucks too, is when you take those big risks. Because it would have been like, okay, it's 10 more pounds, but was it worth it to grind and maybe get it? It's like risk versus reward. It's so hard.
Yeah, welcome to the strategy of powerlifting.
That was cool too to see the guys in the back room, like Zach versus Dave. That was really cool to keep seeing them looking at the. All right, so like Dave has to pull. I think he had to pull like 980, and he got it up to his knees. That was on a stiff bar. Like, I don't know how you feel about it, but I'm not a big fan of this kabuki bar. Like, I thought that was so impressive that you have guys like him and Fernando and Zach and all pulling 800 and plus on a stiff bar. Like, I think the kabuki bar got to go.
Yeah. Well, what do you do with the records then? I mean, that's
but it's just like they weren't hitting the records before this kabuki bar. Now all of a sudden they're like.
I'm saying the records that are there now.
Oh yeah. Like that's what sucks though, because it's like maybe called a specialty record then.
Asterisks or something.
Because like I did the Showdown and I watched Jamal versus Dan, and I think Dan Grisby pulled like 950 or 975 on it, and Jamal pulled like 920. But then they come out with this specialty bar and they're pulling over 1,000 pounds, both of them. I'm like, like they're both super strong sumo pullers, but it just kind of irritating because I'm like, all the top guys got on like the kabuki bars, like they're dick riding it. They're oh, kabuki bar. Oh, I'm like, but then like these foreigners look at us and these other people are like, we look like a bunch of idiots because we're using this long ass deadlift bar, and they have a guy that can pull 900 plus on a stiff bar. So that's the only part I don't like about it, because I'm like, if you're strong, you're strong. You're gonna pull it on any bar.
Yeah, well, it became something that there's a different technique that has to be used if you're pulling over 700 pounds. Or
because you got to really, like, I noticed that pulling to kabuki, you got to really pull that whip. Like, before the bar leaves the ground, you have to get all that slack out.
Yeah,
that's how I kind of got hurt.
But even at the top, you're going to deal with the whip down.
Yeah.
You know, so it ends up being 3 pulls.
Yes, exactly.
Where even a Texas deadlift bar, you got to pull the slack out, but it's
not much.
It's not a lot.
No.
You know, where that one, you got to pull the slack out, then you got to pull, but then you almost have to intentionally slow down.
Yes.
So it doesn't whip you forward at the top.
That's like that. Yeah, like the Cerberus bar, their deadlift bar is pretty much like a rogue bar. I felt like like a rogue deadlift bar. So there's not a lot of whip in it. Like it whips, but nothing like not like the Texas or the kabuki.
Yeah.
I just wish it would go back. Like I think I'm just an old school powerlifter. Like I grew up watching you and Chuck. And Louie and watching like the Little Bridges, and I just miss that side of powerlifting because I train with a lot of like natural kids now at my gym, and they don't know that side of it. Like I'll say some of these guys' names and they're like, "Who's that?" I'm like, "Dude, these are legends. These are guys I grew up on." Like,
well, the only thing I wonder with the same bar across all, and granted, if you've never been given a choice, you're going to figure it out. Is squatting with a regular, power bar for a bigger dude. Well,
I think that's why a lot of I know some of them had injuries, like for sure. Like I know from the abs, like Reach Rumble, a lot of those guys did have injuries. But I see a lot of these guys, I'm like, are you afraid of this bar? Like, do you not think you can put up the total you put up on this bar? Or like, do you need a specialty bar? It's like, so my thing would be like, if I'm you, I'd be like, well, I'll get on it and do it. Like, I don't like calling people out, but I kind of want to be like, yeah, if you're saying you're a top ranked guy and it should be anywhere, me and my wife always says, and I say this, I watch Jake Paul say it's like anywhere, anytime, any place.
Yeah.
So I feel like how I train, like if you called me out today, I'll still put up over 2,000. Like I can be in my off season, I'm still going to put up 2K. And I think you guys had that mindset at Westside, and even here it was like, you should be ready to, I remember watching, I think you guys said on like the Westside movie, you said like you should be ready to go at any time.
Within 4 weeks.
Yeah. And I think that's how I am. And I've always I think learning that from you guys, I've always been that dude. I'm like, if somebody calls me out, I will be ready to go at any time.
Yeah. Well, the other issue with that, if you let it fall too much, through a hypertrophy phase, then there's too much to gain back.
Yes.
Especially from what you're saying, you're going to do really well on short peak phases.
I've always done well on that. So that's crazy that you said that, because like my coach that's why I was hopping meets really suit my wife. And Dom and people around me always be like, why are you hopping into meet like 8 weeks out? I've always felt like I've done way better when I hopped in a short, like look at the abs. I hopped in at 5 weeks and did pretty well.
Well, if you don't let the absolute strength drop by more than say 10%.
Yeah.
it's recoverable. But if you let it drop by 20%, there's no way you're going to be able to pull it together.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you got to throw 4 weeks in front of that, and then all of a sudden you're dealing with more bicepial tendonitis at a sooner rate. So
that's actually hasn't come back, which is really nice. The bicep tendonitis. I haven't had it in probably over 2 years, which is, like I said, I think it was a big tribute to switching to squat style. Like not squeezing that bar down, because I said that bar would always roll up my neck. It used to get scary when I'd be in the whole like heavy weight and the bar would be like rolling on me on multiple reps, and that's a terrible feeling.
How's it been navigating training partners throughout the shift work, for one thing? And then
so I have a pretty good friend group, like with the Strong Nobody. If I text them and say, hey, can you show up Monday at this time, they'll pretty much show up. But like I see it nowadays, like a lot of the top guys train alone. Like I saw in Florida, they had a good crew going on for a while there, but now they all like moved away from each other. So I think that's what we're kind of missing. Doesn't seem like guys want to train together anymore.
Yeah. And that's one of the weird ones, right? Where the old head me is like, man, you're missing so much.
Yeah.
Yet everybody's stronger, because of all that, so you need to be able to do both.
Yeah.
That's how I'd say the sport is now. You have to be able to do both, because it seems like the attrition rate overall is way higher.
Yeah, because we're not competing against each other every single day. Like you guys in your West Side, I used to love that. Like they said Chuck would come in. I think you had like a torn, what'd you do? You tore something, and he's like, you're going to do this today?
Oh, yeah. That was just
I know. I just love that, though, because it reminds me of where I work. Like if you're in a bad mood and you come into the jail, like I work with good dudes. Yeah. They're going to put you in a good mood.
Yeah, if somebody gave me shit, about an injury that I had, then they're trying to back off with some stupid injury that they have. It's going to come back twice as hard.
100%.
Like, that shit is not going to get forgotten about. And I don't give a fuck if they get hurt from it. It's just kind of that. But overall, just the sport in general, because it's so much bigger, it's, if we look at the top guys, that's kind of like a different breed. But going from 20,000 lifters to say 200,000 lifters, most lifters throughout open powerlifting probably compete once and they're done. Right. Where going back 30 years, people would get in the sport. I think they did more than one meet. So it was the attrition rate wasn't as fast, right? Where when you're looking at that, if you were to try to put together a crew and you're really serious about trying to do it, most of the people are going to come in, do one meet and leave.
Yeah, true.
So it's harder. I think it's not as sticky as it was before. So it's harder for people to put crews together because of that reason as well. And then there's a lot of, I don't think we can call them power lifters, but people that want to train like
that used to irritate me so much when I would see dudes that said they were power lifters or bodybuilders and they've never competed. I'm like,
yeah, they're not.
But I used to make these funny videos. People used to crack it. They're called Forte Fumins, where I just would like fume about a topic. And I used to get like thousands of views on them because it was just me being me rambling. Like, how are you going to say you're a power lifter and you're going to the gym but you've never competed? You're putting up numbers in the gym but you've never done it on a competition.
Yeah, because I won't even say that they're a power lifter if they did one meet. What I'll say is you power lifted.
Yes,
but you're not a power lifter 100%. Until you do more than one meet.
So I love that you're like that. I love that you're like that though, because I'll have people like just let them enjoy it, let them enjoy the sport. I'm like, I'm not saying you can't be a part of it, but don't claim that you're a power lifter or a bodybuilder if you're not doing. Like, you might be living the lifestyle and doing this stuff, but you're not competing.
Well, what the sport has now that I don't think it had, when I was coming up, are people that train like powerlifters. Where bodybuilding is a great example to look at. There's millions of people that train like bodybuilders but don't compete. That didn't happen so much with powerlifting, but it does now. So I don't think it's a bad thing, because it will feed into those that will become powerlifters. And the bigger the pot, the stronger the genetic. 100%. The stronger the odds of getting the genetic outliers.
Well, yeah, because you have guys that were college athletes and other stuff that are just genetic freaks that you put them under a bar.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see what Saquon Barkley could do if he just never.
Yeah. Well, not only that, but just say he found powerlifting before football, then fell in love with it.
Hell yeah.
I mean, he'd be poor, but think of that though.
He'd be a monster,
right? Because I do think that we're seeing some people like that are starting to trickle into the sport.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no doubt.
And the wider the net, the more you're going to pull that in, which is going to pull it all up through, which is what's so cool about the sport now, because you got a wider net, but then you got better access to
Speaking of wider net, how do you feel about a lot of these newer guys that are doing like these antics on Instagram and like some of the crazy shit they're doing, like the videos? Like, I remember there was this kid, I don't even mind him. He just pissed me off because he wears a suit any deadlifts. And it sucks because he's like good friends with my buddy I used to work with. They own Power Build Gym.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call him out because he called me out about it. So he like walked up to a bar, and this kid couldn't get it, and he walked up and deadlifted it. I'm like, okay, dude, like you're cool. You deadlifted the weight that I think it was like an antics video, but it's still irritating because you're sending the wrong message to people. Like, say you see this kid in the gym struggling and he can't lift it. You walk over and make a dick out of him and lift it up. So I kind of called him. I was like, yo, you want to compete against somebody? Meet me at the American Pro, and I'll compete against you.
I haven't seen that, but I would say that's kind of like a dick move.
Yeah.
But it is a move that I've personally done to some people. Just fucking around.
Messing around with your boy. Yeah, we used to do that. Yeah. We used to do that with my one buddy when he was like 155 pounds in high school.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy would walk over, pick up his bench, and start curling it.
Yeah.
Like, that's different because you're busting balls with your boys. But,
yeah.
But I just see like a lot of antics now. I'm like, I think you're sending a wrong message. And I'm glad I motivated him because he tagged me like a year later because I called him out and I got injured for the American Pro. That's when I wanted to compete against him because I was, sauced up and feeling good. So I was like making stupid videos. And then I'm glad because he ended up making a huge total. So I'm like, if I can motivate you, dude, to hit a big total, that's awesome. Because that means that I watched the video lately. He's like, I replayed him saying this over and over to me. I'm like, that's cool. I don't take that personal, dude. I didn't come at you personally. I just said what you were doing was messed up. I don't know you as a person. No ill will against you. I just did not like what you were doing.
Yeah. No, I would get that. I mean, there's always more to the story. Like, did the other person have consent?
I didn't know the full. I think I just
you never really know.
I just saw the video and like freaked out a little bit.
Yeah, because there's Insta famous or whatever it is, and whatever.
That irritates me though because I come from like the old school, like work hard and earn it.
Yeah,
which they definitely do. Like most of these guys are strong. They're doing antics.
Yeah, well, some of them it's also their job and their career.
Yeah, so I understand that. So
it's kind of trying to separate that whole thing.
But I never understood that till recently how people make money off of it. And
and it's if I was to go back instead of bouncing in bars, if I would have had a choice of bouncing in bars or actually training people online to be able to help support and pay for the sport, I'm training people online.
Speaking of that, so me and my friends always have this debate about federations because I don't know if you just saw the WRPF is now Powerlifting United. Did you see that?
There's so much.
Oh, so I guess WRPF, some Russian criminal, whatever, owned it. So now they canceled WRPF and now it's Powerlifting United. Yeah. So I don't understand because I figured this out at RPS meet the one time irritated me, and there's nothing against them. I love them. But if you get 120 lifters in a meet, it's $120 a piece, right? Yeah. Talking $7,000 if we get 120. So most of the time the gyms don't make them pay to use the gym because most of these meets are at gyms. Local meets are usually at a gym. So say the gym, they just take the fees at the door. You have $7,000. What do you have? Three, 4, 5 spotter and loader. You're paying your judges. Let's say that's $1,000. What are you doing with that $6,000? Yeah. People are like, you don't understand. You're not running a meet. You're not a meet director. I'm like, anybody could do some simple math. Like, why are you not giving, like, even if you just said first place, we'll give you $150 back your entry fee. So I don't know how people aren't getting paid nowadays. Because I think that's why ABS is so successful, because they've said, yo, we don't care if we go broke. We want to make the athletes get paid, and we want to do what's right for, like, they'll have sweet venues, the setup. And I just look at some of these, like, local federations, and I'm like, I don't understand, because I don't know. Maybe there is other, like, expenses, too. But I'm like...
Yeah, I wouldn't know that. I know at meets that I put on years ago, they were in hotels. Yeah. So once you paid for the hotel ballroom and all
well, yeah, see, that's different. Much. The hotel venue, they're a little... You got to pay... I understood that. Yeah, so the hotel venue, you're paying them to... It's just like the American Pro. They're paying to be in that venue, but all the sponsorship money and everything else, like, how are these people not getting more money? Like, I guess... I heard Fernando say it on a podcast once that, I can't think of this dude's name. He's a corrections officer in Illinois. He's a freaking tank. He totaled like the highest total. I think he had like 2,400 and only won like $200.
Yeah. Now, one of the mistakes I see on the other end is you'll get a federation that has a big payout. And wherever they got the money from that first time, who knows? One-off sponsorship, whatever it's going to be. But if they're not consistent with it, right? So you have maybe 50,000 in prize money year one, then year two, 20,000, year three, it's zero. Okay. Right? Because whatever model they had wasn't sustainable with how they did all that. Where, I've always kind of wished they would do it the other end. Yeah. Like, go with what you know that you can do for at least 4 years.
Yeah, even if it's lower money. I don't like, I think it should be weight classes. That's how you keep it competitive. Because if you're just gonna do top 5 by dots, it's just everybody knows it's a John Hack show. John can go to any meet he wants in the country. If it's by dots, he could have his worst day and he's probably still winning. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I think like if you wanted to be competitive, like that's what abs was cool about. They had like you versus another person, and that's what people want to see. They want a backstory. Like Zeus and Joe did an awesome job promoting, and there's other guys that are probably mad. They're like, I out told them, why am I not in the Reach Rumble? And they even came out and said like, these dudes know how to promote. Like they're doing a good job. Like they built a story where it's like me versus him. They are doing funny memes, like talking shit to each other. And I heard other people that were upset about. I'm like, yo, they're good at what they do, man. Like they're helping the sport grow in this way. Like people want to see a battle.
Yeah, I mean, you got to try it. First off, I mean, it's crazy because there's so many federations and all these other things. So there's no unifying governing person that's determining what grow means.
Yeah.
You know, because there's a lot of lifters that don't want it to grow, that want to keep it, you know, based on sport.
They want to keep Kabuki bar, keep the special bar. Yeah. Because think about it, you do a meet tomorrow, it's all Texas. Then I have to prep for another meet. I'm doing Kabuki squat, and it's like, how, like, I got to balance these two. Because then you might get shit from all the top guys. Well, you're not doing this federation. It doesn't count. And that's why I love Death Script Derek, because he'll just compete in Texas and throw up like 2,400 or whatever and be like, I'm not traveling to a big meet. I don't care.
Yeah, I mean, none of this shit is new, right? It's my first meet was in the mid 80s. None of this is new. You know, none of it. Yeah. I mean, it's always the same shit that's over and over and over again. So I kind of equate it like if you're a competitive lifter in your prime, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Like you don't want to see what's behind the curtain. Right? Because if you see what's behind the curtain, it's going to dilute your view of the sport. You only have so many years to do this.
Yeah.
You know, so why spend those years being frustrated about shit you have no control over?
True, yeah.
You know, just figure out, and you guys do a good job of this, and I'm still mystified how the fuck you guys do this, but you figure out where all the best lifters are going so you can compete against the best. It doesn't matter if it's fucking USPA, WRPF, whatever the federation is, it doesn't matter. So whatever it is, there they are.
That was what's cool about the Showdown meet. It was like the best of the best. Pretty much everybody that was like was at this meet, and that's what gave me the motivation too. And I'm like, that's what we got to keep doing. Like if we keep getting, like that's what ABS was trying to do. They were trying to get the top 10 best totals in the world, but you know, injuries and stuff. But that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it invite. Like you can't get butthurt if you don't get an invite only. Like if it's invite only, there's other meets too. But I think they try to please everybody in the sport. But like if it's invite, like if you're gonna do invite only, go off of the top guys, because there's other meets that do invite only and no invite guys because they have a good social media following. Yeah.
I mean, it should be, you know, the best going against the best. And I would say throughout all the history of the sport that I've been around, this is the best time to where the lifters do have more control than everybody else.
Yeah.
Right? Federations have what control do they have? You know, it's you know, this one's going to get fucked up or canceled. Do you care? You're like, whatever, just go to the
Well, yeah, it's like Powerlifting United. Like I did WRPF New Jersey. I didn't care about like they ran a good meet. WRPF New Jersey had a high standard. It was, you know, really good ran meet. They did a spectacle. Like they had music, the smoke when you walk through on your deadlift. Like they have it figured out with that part. But then like this bullshit with WRPF, it makes them look bad. But I'm like, yo, if you're going to hate WRPF, that's fine, but don't hate the meet directors running the meet, because they run good meets.
Well, that same bullshit is happening how many federations before that?
USPA before that.
Yeah, I mean, you left a federation to go to this federation for the same fucking reason that you just left this federation to go to another federation in hopes that other federation won't have the same fucking issues as that one does. Like, how about you just, as a lifter, just find the meets that you can compete against?
Well, that's why Test It is beating us right now on the untested side, because when I went out to the Utah, it was funny. 3 people from my gym were on the same flight as me, and they were going to nationals. And I'm like, it's crazy that they get all these people who don't care to spend money go to nationals and compete against each other. But we can't get dudes that have jobs. Like a lot of them are college kids too, like young. But we can't get dudes that have jobs and stuff to go travel with me, which is understandable. I get it's expensive, but like if you love this sport, it's cool to travel. I enjoy traveling and doing it.
Yeah, they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, you're gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
So I don't understand that, why you wouldn't want to travel and go compete against, like especially if you're an athlete and you're competitive, like me and you, wrestling, football background. I want to compete against people. I don't care if I lose. It's still competitive. Like it's what I grew up on.
As an outsider looking in, it seems to me that's happening more now, wanting to compete against each other.
Yeah, definitely
than any other time in the history of the sport. Going back, I have to go way, way back. You know, than when there was 3 federations. You know, and
you guys, what you saying? They dodged each other back then.
When the federations started to split,
Yeah.
you know, they would pick. You know, kind of like, I want to go here because I don't want to compete against this person. You know, so there was probably 2 decades where you would see a lot of that kind of going on.
That's crazy. I didn't know it was like that back then. I thought
not with everybody. Like, nothing is absolute,
guys.
right? But certain guys for sure. And where now it seems like you want to know where the best guys are going because you want to go there.
Yeah.
Right. And granted, there were people that were like that. I'm not speaking in absolutes by any means, you know, but it definitely happened more now, or more than now, you know. And now it just seems like trying to figure out, you know, the invite thing it's relatively new. It is, like that's just kind of started. The Arnold kind of was like that for a while, but
so that's what sucks is, like, speaking of the Arnold XPC, when I was in college, the XPC was like, I remember like Larry Williams was doing it. The Little Bridges, other big names were at the XPC meet, and that meet was like I don't know how you would not want to compete in Columbus, Ohio, in front of all those people. And it just feels like it died off. Like I did it 2 years ago. It was real. I was trying to win a belt. I ended up missing it by like 3. I was in sleeves versus all wrap lifters. I ended up missing it by like 3 points. But it just, like, it was cool because I got to walk into the expo and compete. Like they had that part figured out. But it just, from what it was, it kind of bothered me because I'm like, man, this used to be like, when I first did this meet back in like 2016, I went out to Columbus and did it. And seeing these freaks, like I think JP Price hit like a huge total there. And then I see it like what it is now. I'm like, man, this sucks. Like that's what I grew up on. Like this meet was like what I wanted to do. Yeah. And it's like, none of this is new. Like that. No. I can go way back and, you know, going way back. It used to be like a Bob Boone Memorial or the YMCA Nationals, or, you know, there was always, everything plays its course, that's the part that's so fascinating about you guys now is that course gets played faster. You know, if we go back to Kern and, you know, all these other things. But you all jump off before it dies. It's like you see it and it's like, okay, now it's time to go. And then boom, there's the next one, and you ride the next one, you ride the next one. At the end of the day, all that matters is what your lifts are, you know, ultimately. Yeah. So do you think, like, compared to back then, today, I think the biggest problem we have is, like, well, social media. Like, well, he did it in this federation. Like, back then, if you guys hit a huge... Yeah, same shit. It was the same shit then, too? 100%. Yeah, so, like, oh, you did it in this federation, so it's not as impressive. Oh, fuck yeah. I mean, the IPA was called the HIPA. IPA. You know, so, oh, yeah. None of this is new. It's just amplified. You didn't have to deal with, like, the criticism as much as like as I would, right? Like, oh yeah, it would just happen on forums. Oh, the forum. That's right. Forums were big back then. Yeah, and I can go back to when it was just Powerlifting USA magazine, and it's a fucking photo, right? So you don't know, you know what I'm saying? You don't know. I forgot about that. That's true. Yeah, you don't know where the picture was taken, but like that shit's high. Oh like, yeah, how do you fucking? It's a photo. I just had that recently. The WRPF meet I did. Speaking of that, this kid I competed against. So I'm not going to say his name. He missed his third squat. He hit his second, and I had a horrible meet. Like I said, I walked out and on a combo rack. I trained in this meet prep because I was supposed to prep for another meet. I got injured in a model lift, so I had to go back to walking out of a combo rack. Well, my first opener squat, I got caught on the fucking pin. Oh yeah, because I didn't walk it out far enough. So I go down. I'm like trying to go down, click, click. I'm trying to go down, like click, click, and the dude, they picked me up. I go, what happened? They're like, you hit the pin. I'm like, oh, can I go again? They're like, no, you already went down. I'm like, oh shit. So then I'm already in my head. I'm like, yeah, damn, I just missed this opener squat. Like, what am I gonna do for something stupid? Yeah. So then I jumped up and weighed 755. I thought I dunked it, but I got 2 reds and 1 white, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna bomb out of this meet, and I'm supposed to win like $2,000 and donate this to my church. Like, so then third, I came out and I mean, everybody's videos, I dunked it. If I showed you a picture of it right now, you'd be like, yeah, you're low as shit. Well, this kid got called for his third squat. Kind of young, cocky, arrogant kid starts making a big deal out of it. His dad like jumps up yelling at the judges because he didn't get the lift, and then he posted me after, didn't even say hi to me at the meet, like would wave to me. Like, I think he thought he was going to win and didn't know who I was because I'm not well known. And my wife knows, anybody that knows Nick Forte, if I come into a meet and I have to hit this deadlift to win the meet, I'm hitting that deadlift. So it came down to like, I think I had to pull 771 and my back's been fucked up this whole meet prep. So I come up to the platform and my buddies are there with me, the Strong Nobody guys are calculating. It's like, you got to pull 771 to beat him. My hand ripped open, my opener deadlift. So I'm like, everything's like stacked against me. I'm like, God is testing me. Like he's saying like, you want to speak my name and like praise me, but let's see if you trust me. So I'm like sitting there, I'm like, dude, my hand's bleeding. Like my hand's ripped open. Walk up, pull it, lock it out, finish the lift. I'm like, all right, I won this meet because he has to pull like 815. I've only ever seen him pull 8 something. After he goes on Instagram, post a picture of me and he's like, how did this get 2 white lights? It's like the worst angle you could take.
Sure.
And I'm like, are you kidding me, kid? Like, you didn't say nothing to me in person. You didn't come up to me and say nothing, but you go on social media and post it. Like, come on.
Says more about him than you, though.
Yeah, and like he messaged me there and we were talking. I'm like, dude, I don't know why you're coming at me as a lifter. I'm not the judge. The judge gave me a white light. Like, don't come at me. I never say anything bad about you. Because if I want, I'll just call you out and be like, let's compete again, and I'll destroy you by 100 pounds or beat you by 25 dots points this time. And I could have went that route, but I just let it go.
Yeah.
But I was just irritated because I'm like, people come at other lifters. Like, I'm not the judge. Like, even the judge, like, that's a tough decision. Like, I don't really want to ever judge because, like, if you don't think it's a white light, like, do you give it a red? Like, I don't know. It's tough.
It should go to the to me, it should always go to the benefit of the lifter.
Yes, I agree with that. But I just feel like some judge, like, it's so hard because some judges, I feel like if they just saw, like, if you squat really fast, I feel like it benefits you. Like, if you're in and out of the hole and, like, within 2 seconds, you'll get a white light sometimes.
Yeah. I never understood why it was the lifters that get criticized when it's the judge that did the judging.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't happen in any other sport, right?
No, it doesn't.
I mean, you'll criticize the officials in football, but you're not criticizing the receiver.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of that, like, people, there's bad calls everywhere. Like, I hate when people get mad at me because they're like, oh, you got that deadlift, your shoulders were full forward. I'm like, yeah, because I went over and hit the white light. Like,
exactly.
There's bad calls every week. Like, the Miami Virginia Tech game 2 weeks ago, like the interception, we didn't know if that was a touchdown, what it was, and Hail Mary. But then people will criticize like me for a judge giving me a white light. Like, I don't care if he gives me a red light, then I didn't get the lift.
Yeah, exactly. You know, but at the same time, if the judges are the one criticized, nobody's going to want to judge.
Yeah, exactly. So
you know, so it's, you know, and they're most of the time they're not paid to be there. They're volunteers and so forth. So, you know, it kind of is what it is.
Yeah, that's why like judging is a tough job because you got to love the sport and like you're sitting there for hours just watching a squat over and over again. But I don't know, it's just so hard for me because I feel like me as a slow squatter, sometimes they're more critical on my squat than somebody, like I said, it's in and out of the hole in like 2 seconds.
I can see that. Because
like I go down real slow and then I explode out of the hole. I was watching was it Mike Mentzer or somebody was like, it's like a rubber band, like you slow, boom, explode.
Do you dip before you explode?
Yeah, I do.
That makes that even harder.
I do a little dip. I go down, like, so do you ever see like how kind of Dan Bell does it?
Yep.
I do like a little dip at the end. So like sometimes I'm like, did the judge see that dip? Is that what, like, because ABS saw it because I just did it and got 3 white lights from them. And I'm like, did they see my little, like I'll like dunk it an extra second. So maybe they hit the red light before. I don't know.
That does make it hard. You have to have a judge that knows what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, like they did have good judges. Like she even told me like she's my buddy's, one of my friends that I lift with, his wife, and I went over to her, I was like, hey, what happened? She's like, yeah, you gotta get a little bit lower. So I did, and like that's what you're supposed to do. Don't criticize the judge. Go over and ask them like, hey, look. I asked both the side judges, I'm like, hey, what do I need to fix? They're like, you gotta get like another inch. So that's cool. Like, and they don't care if you come up and ask them. Like, just go over and ask them what I do wrong.
Oh, an inch is, I like, what's fucked up is when this much more. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, how much lower?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking like a 1/4 inch, then it's fucking good. Like, what are you talking about? You know, or like if it's that, but. Like I said, none of this is a new aspect of the whole
it's all
thing.
It's just like keep repeating.
And some federations are going to judge differently than others, and it's just how it is, you know. So it's always been that way. Yeah, it's always going to be that way until we get some kind. Actually, I'm surprised that we don't now because it would be very easy
if we just had one
to use some kind of video.
I think. Well, US IPF has it, right? They have a video review.
No, I'm saying to actually judge it.
Okay, yeah. But they can review it and challenge it, right?
Yes.
IPF, okay.
Yes. And I like that idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
You know, I think that's a good idea as long as it's not abused. And I don't know for sure how it works, but I think for some of the challenging, you have to pay.
Oh,
you know?
really?
So, but that keeps everybody from challenging, right?
Yeah,
you
'cause
can
then
challenge somebody else's lift.
You're gonna have dudes challenging every single call.
Yeah, so there, and that plays into the whole strategy of the whole thing.
Oh, I didn't know
as
you
well.
could challenge. You could challenge somebody else's lift.
Yes.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I'm not that familiar with how this all plays out. But
I'm learning now because all these kids that come to my gym that
Yeah.
are IPF lifters or USAPL, I'm learning from them.
yeah, that's why they put the money behind that, because
Yeah.
why would you not? But then you're going to slow the whole meet down, you know, because of all that. But it has to happen fast enough for that.
Yeah.
If you go before me and I challenge yours, it has to happen fast enough for you to be able to make your next call.
Yeah.
You can't take fucking 10 minutes and you're in the warm-up for me. You know, it can go wrong so many different ways.
Yeah.
But a lot of that part, they have that shit all figured out.
That is, yeah, they're doing a
really
good job.
do.
They really, yeah. I like that part of it.
When
One bar, no, like they use that IPF silver bar. Like, there's no, like, you can't say anything bad about them with that. So that's a cool part of it. Honestly, it kind of makes me wish like, after doing the power bar, it was fun doing a power bar because, like, now none of the USAPL or IPF guys could say anything about us that did that meet because we're like, we use the same bar as you did.
oh, they will.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah, I mean,
but it's cool that I can go total 2,000 on a power bar. So, like, I felt good about myself knowing, like, I got a lot more respect from the kids that go to my gym and other kids because you know how they'll say, oh, he uses a squat bar, he uses a deadlift bar. But now what are you going to say? Because I just did it on your bar.
exactly. And there's comparisons. You know, here's that bar, here's a squat bar, here's your deadlift on straight bar, Texas bar, kabuki bar.
Yeah.
There it is across the board. You know, so that for you, whatever that carryover isn't what they thought.
Yeah, exactly. They probably thought, oh, 1,900 or he's not going to hit what he hits.
100 pounds more on the deadlift because of the bar.
Yeah, well, I mean, there definitely are guys that.
Oh, yeah.
I think there's a lot of sumo pullers that if they had to go back to a stiff bar would lose like 100 pounds for real.
No, I believe
from a
that.
kabuki.
I believe that. I still think there's going to come a day to where, because the end plate with some guys is only off the floor about an inch and a half, right? I keep thinking to myself, if there was one or two more reds on there and it won't leave the floor, how do you judge that? Like if it's locked out.
Yeah, because if it's so
you
far,
see what I'm saying?
How do you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, because some of these guys are putting that much weight on it now, so yeah, that's tough.
And the stuff, the wider stance, closer grip, more bar whip, all the other kind of stuff. But if those end plates don't leave the floor, and I'm a head judge, and it's fucking locked out,
yeah.
Is there anything in the rule book that says the plates have to leave the floor?
I don't know. I just read like the small details. So that's tough. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it'll be like a federation to federation type thing again. You know how it is.
So technically, when you go to squat,
Yeah.
a max weight squat or in a meet, how do you approach the bar technically? And then
So I used to get real like psycho crazy. Like, I used to be like amped up. The halo, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
super fired up, like just go under and squat it. But now I'm way more. I'll listen to like a calming song now. Like I'll listen. It's so funny. Like I remember your one Dave Tape video you had where it was The Void.
Oh yeah.
And you're talking about you had Christina Aguilera drinking a bottle. I would laugh because I would be listening to like people think I'm listening to Parkway Drive, but during a squat I'll be listening to like XX intro, like listen to like a Christian song that calms me down because I want to be calm and focused because like a squat is, in my opinion, is the most technical lift.
Yes.
So I want like now I'm calm. I walk up to the bar, I'm in a zen state. I'm just calm, peace, get under the bar, always make sure my a big thing I used to struggle with was making sure that bar was in the middle of my back. So I love that federation that let you have person tap you.
Yeah.
So that's my number one thing, make sure the bar is in the middle of my back because I used to lose a lot of weight because it would always like lean to the one side, the bar. So I get under there, get under it deep, make sure I'm hitting that spot on my back because if I get it too low or too high, that will mess up. I squeeze those arms in, lock in, head up, big. I always take one big breath when I walk out. I go, big breath, 1 step, 2 steps, slide, get set. Sometimes I take a while too. I just want to get comfortable, make sure my legs are pointed out, my knees, getting them ready to go.
Were you letting the bar settle too?
Yeah, let the bar settle, especially on, the whippy bar.
Yeah.
That's what I do too. I let it settle, head up, chest out, big tight breaths, squeeze. I keep the breath the whole time, all the way down, dunk, dunk, dunk. I feel that hole, that dip. I come up, let that breath out, and I just explode out of the hole.
Where do you feel the tension on the way down? In your legs or your back? Or you're not even aware at that point?
I don't. Okay. I just go into that void, like you would say. I definitely feel it in the hole. When I think that's where I feel it, the hole when you do that dip. But then when you come out of the hole, You could feel it.
Now in the hole, where do you feel it, the tension?
When I come up.
Okay.
No, actually, when I'm in the hole, I probably feel it, because when I explode out of that hole, I don't really feel it. So, and then I feel it like halfway up. If it's a grinder, I'll start to feel that tension. You know, when you're getting past that sticking point, that's when you feel it too. So it's like 2 points for me: in the hole before I explode, and then as I come up, I'm about to lock it out. I feel.
So if you're coming up and it's straining, do you feel the tension in the back or legs, or just all everywhere? Probably
everywhere through my legs. Yeah, everywhere. Yeah, but you know, like I love that. I just go into like this zone where everything's blank. So I don't really feel anything. I can feel I'm not going to get it, but like, especially when I grind, like I can feel in my body when I'm going to, because like everybody loves that about me. I just grind lifts. So I love being in that like peaceful place. Like I'm sure you talk about it.
It's like, just different.
There's nothing better than just, there's no other feeling besides like my wife and my kid that I get than being in that feeling.
It's still different.
It is. Like, I love how runners talk about runner's high. I'm like, if you've experienced this, it's the cool. Like, some guys say they don't, but why would you be doing this if you didn't? Because like, it is. It's just like I feel like at peace. Like this is where I'm supposed to be right now.
Yeah, and that's different than if you smoke the lift too.
Yeah,
and way different.
Yeah, especially when you grind a lift. There's just something like my buddy Chap was talking. He's like, you just love to grind, bro. I'm like, I really do, because I used to watch guys like, you know, Chuck and you and all these guys that would just grind through lifts. And I thought that was like the coolest thing, because it's like you're fighting against all them demons, all that shit that's inside you. And that's what I think every time I get
in the bar. For me, it's all playing out in my head too.
Yeah, it is for me.
You know, it's like, you know, fuck, you know, did you just say that? You know, you didn't say that. You know, all this shit's just playing out as it's like an hour of dialogue going in your head for this much of
I know, it's crazy, because I remember telling like people, I'm like, I think about like when I was a kid, like we grew up, like we weren't poor, but like now when I look at people that are poor, I'm like, I was not poor, but we had it rough. I grew up in a rough area. You know, my pap helped raise us, and if we didn't have him, I don't know where I'd be. Like, so all that shit plays on my head. I just think about this man that used to get up every single day at 5 a.m, go drive tractor trailer, and he retired at 78 years old, like still driving tractor trailer. So all that shit plays through my head, like, if he can do this, and like, you know, being bullied as a kid, and just all that shit that's built up, and like my life we had to go through with my parents, and all that shit is just like in my head when I'm in that lift, and I just let it out, and it's the best feeling. I just let it all go.
Now for the bench, how do you go about setting up and
so I'm pretty calm. Same thing, pretty calm. You know, one big thing that's helped me now is like my head placement. So like, because especially with ABS, you can't lift your head off the bench. So and then like I just got in that habit, because I learned that your head cannot come off the bench. So I get under, always thumbs. Like I'm pretty close grip bencher, so the thumbs are like right outside the
smooth.
Yeah, like I'm pretty close grip. Unrack it, turn. I always learn like turn your lats, engage, and I pull the bar down and make sure I always, because I can tell if I hit this spot on my chest right here, I'm gonna smoke it. But if I go a little too high, I know it's gonna be a grind. So it's like hitting that smooth spot. And I'm pretty slow bencher too. Like if you've seen like how John does hack, like I'm pretty like I make it stop like he does. So I get pretty quick like press commands. So yeah, I unrack it, you know, over, big breath, let it settle. Especially like some of these new federations are making you hold it at the top, which I don't mind because I do that anyways. And then I'm like real slow descent, pause. Like I said, I'm explosive out of the hole again. And then I feel like that tension, like right at like the lockout area. That's when I always feel it. Even if it's like light, it always feels like that lockout area.
Do you adjust anything when that happens? You turn?
Yeah, I actually did. So funny you said that. My second bench at abs, I felt it like struggling. I'm like, I wonder what I did there. And I took the breath. I didn't let the breath out. So, you know, like when you hold it, I didn't let the breath. I just went like a little breath. So on my third bench, I smoked. I think I did, 523. I knew I had to readjust. I'm like, all right, when you bring the bar out, take that deep breath at the top and then take another one and then bring it down and hold that breath. And then when I give you that press command, just blow out and drive up. And I did that, and I like pretty much smoked it. Actually looked better than my second.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that it's just those cues, remembering, like, because even though you're a nutcase and you're zoned out, you still got to remember your basics and how to get through that lift.
And then the deadlift.
So lately, I don't know what I've been doing. I hesitate. I hesitate so much anymore. I think it's because of the injuries. I used to be able to just walk right up, 1 pump, 2 pump, pull, go. But now sometimes I'll find myself hanging out. Like I'll walk up, get my hand grip right. I always pump my legs, get that explosive, and I don't know why. Like when I don't hesitate and I go, I pull awesome. But when I'm hesitating, it feels like it's just going to be a grind. So I walk up, you know, make sure my feet are where I want them. I'm like pretty much like bar before my toes, like not over. I like it right there. Walk up, get that grip set. Over under. I'm not a hook grip puller, so I, you know, over under, and then I always try to pin this thumb because I feel when I go like this, my thumb always slips, so I try to pin the thumb like that, kind of like a hook, you know. Pump my hips through. Off the floor is always easy for me. The grind is like getting it past my knees, and then I just lock it out. Now, when you're grinding to lock it out, is it pushing your hips forward? Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to do. As I've learned to squeeze my butt cheeks and squeeze my hammies and pull my hips through, and then shoulders back, because I'm like, I sit like, if you look, I'm rounded naturally. Like I'll be sitting like this sometimes, so my shoulders come forward naturally, so I have to really work on getting like the pull back because that's why I missed that third deadlift at ABS, because I couldn't get the shoulders back, and I knew it too. I'm like, shit, couldn't get the shoulders back. Now, have you had to move your grip out because of that, wider? No, I've always kept them right next to my legs. I like it right there. Right. You know what I'm talking about? 'Cause you'll see some guys that are wider, they're so close that they can't. Yeah, no, I've just kept them maybe a little bit, maybe like an inch, but nothing crazy. Okay. Yeah, I did that a little bit, yeah. And were there any topics you wanted to talk about that I didn't bring up? Just I'm going to talk about a little bit of PEDs that, like, back then, do you think guys today are using more or lying about what they're using? I think I always have lied. It's just, I don't know why though. Like, I think it's like, I always figured out that it's like everybody wants to pretend like they have good genetics. Like, I've always been open about what I've done in the past, and I mean, everybody's going to respond differently to different compounds. Where I think people are more aware of that now than before. It's like, what the hell, you know, why does this not work for you? But it was also, you couldn't talk about it freely. Yeah. You know, because of it's still against the law. Yeah, exactly. You know, so there was that, and then that's why I have to be careful. Some of the stuff like I talk about too, where my career and all. Yes, you know, so that was more profound then. So as the conversations expanded, you know, obviously the use is going to expand because of that, but also the, you know, better informed use will happen with that. The only thing I don't know is, usually the side effects is what kind of would control doses back then. The side effects get so bad that it starts to hurt your training. Where now it's easier to mitigate side effects, which would just increase doses from that. So it's been different phases throughout the whole time. Where I had a prescription for most of the time, but it never covered. That's what now I get TRT. Like Numeric, they're awesome. They do like blood work and everything, and I mean, so mitigating the sides, Merrick's great. My wife saw my ass. Like, and then for the prison, we have to do Get Healthy program. So we have to get blood work done once a year to lower our insurance. So that keeps me at, like, especially if you're on cycle and you get to see your blood. Like, nobody wants to see their blood work on cycle because it never looks good. Well, I'd say that's a huge benefit now, because it's even back then I'd get blood work like once a year, and whatever, if it was. And it was probably when you were not on all the high shit when you were doing it too, right? Yeah, sometimes it was, you know, but it wasn't so far out of range that it was an issue, but it also wasn't being done, you know, during meet prep. You know, it was a regular physical once a year, whenever it was going to be. Sometimes there might be in meet prep, sometimes it's not. We're now, and I was fortunate because I had a doctor willing to do it. You know, where back then, just to get a doctor to even speak to you about it was a nightmare. You know, you go in for a cold, and it's because you take test. You know, you're going with a broken toe, it's because you take test. It didn't matter what it was. They don't understand it. You know, where now it's a little bit easier, and there are companies like Merrick to be able to kind of help with all that. So because it's more widespread, that if it is underground labs, they're more competitive. Like, so an underground lab doesn't want to get a bad Plus, name. Dave Palumbo has those test kits now, so you could find out if you're. They didn't have that back then. Like, that was a big benefit for me telling when people ask me advice. Like, they're like $20 a piece. If you're gonna put this stuff in your body, at least know what you're doing. That's the biggest thing, right? Because it's, you know, that's where when you start talking about doses, things get a little weird, because if you go back before all that, you don't know if your shit was underdosed. Maybe I had some cycles that were 5 grams a week, or
But it wasn't.
It wasn't, because it might have been at 100 when you thought it was 250 or 50 even. Yeah.
I'm basing it all on how I'm recovering, where I'm supposed to feel at certain points in the training cycle. Sometimes it never had to go up.
Yeah.
Other times it did. I wonder why.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where now if there's test kits and shit like that, it's a lot easier to be able to know for sure, what it is.
You know what's wild about back then? I remember me and my brother's first ever time we got on stuff was that Florida Iron Addicts gym when you could buy it with a credit card.
Yeah.
Do you remember Rich Rodriguez and when he got busted? And I remember using a bank card and buying like 30 bottles worth of shit. And I was like, I thought it was legal at the time, because I'm like, because they had pictures of like, they had Stan Efferding on there and like all these bodybuilders, and were like, blah blah blah, doctor said you can. And I remember buying like shit on there, and that was like our first time ever doing anything. And I'm like, so you could buy with a credit card, it's legal. And then I heard he got busted, and I was like freaking out. I'm like, oh my god, this is not good.
Exactly.
But you're a young kid, you don't know. Like, I think I started at 22.
Well, over the years too, I've known people that were hypo responders. I mean, take just a little bit and just boom. And other ones that had to take a ton of shit and they wouldn't get anything out of it.
I always felt like I was a hyper. Like, my wife knows. I'm not gonna lie, when I was younger, I thought I was doing crazy shit, but it wasn't like I listened to Pete and other people, but I'm like, I really wasn't doing what now some of the dudes I know are taking. I'm like, I've always just been moderate.
Yeah. And if that works, that's better.
Yeah, you don't want to be... Like, I'm not gonna lie, there was the day of the meet where I'm blasting a shitload of Halo, and my freaking... I feel like I can't breathe because I don't know what it was, but... Or like 1 cc a day up until meet day of Trent or something, but...
I mean, as long as you're recovering and progressing, it's the right mix for that. Granted, the blood work I think it's necessary, because especially if this is going to be a long-term thing, where I don't think anybody really gets into it thinking, well, I'm going to be on testosterone or PEDs for 20 years. But most people that get into it and they're serious about it, it ends up being for the rest of their life.
Yeah, exactly. You probably know you're going to have to do this forever once you start it.
Yeah, so forming a relationship with somebody like Merrick or somebody that can run the labs and kind of know what's going on, you'll know when to push the envelope, when to pull back on it. Sometimes if you pull back on it, that could be just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, I don't think people think enough into that, where it's like you can't just run all year long. Like, especially for like your receptors. Like, when I've noticed when I cruise for a while and then I hop back on, I'm like a new person. Like, I feel great. I'm like, holy shit, this stuff feels like when I first took it again. Because I feel like some of these guys, they want to keep that 900 squat, that 900 deadlift, and they're scared of the fall off.
Yeah. And
I'm like, it's going to come back quick, dude. It's going to be like a month and you'll get it back. And that was the hard part I had mentally, was like, when you do come off, you lose like 100. You might only bench 450, or if you're a 780 squatter, only squat 680, but it's not going to be for a long time.
Yeah, and as long as you adjust the training to accommodate.
Yeah.
That's where people will fuck that up, is they'll try to keep the same percentages.
No, you can't.
And then get frustrated and just ram themselves in a wall. And the off season's really where you're going to make your best gains if you really think it through.
Yeah.
And all you're doing during that peaking phase is being more efficient at triples and singles, and reaping the benefits of ramping doses up.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But the healthier you can go into that, the better you're going to be. Yeah. Going back to what I said earlier, the healthier person generally is going to be the person to win. So if you can start at like peak 100%, nothing's fucked up. Yeah. And then you're only fucked up for 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
Cool. Yeah. You know, that's better than being fucked up
the whole time.
8 weeks, you're starting to mitigate bicepial tendonitis or adductor issues or back issues 10 weeks out. It's like, dude, where do you think this is?
Well, that's what happened to me with before I did WRPF meet. I tweaked my back. I was supposed to compete with Zach Myers at a Wilkes-Barre meet, which would have been awesome because it was like right in my backyard. I tweaked my back. I'm like, I knew going into that prep I was banged up. I'll grind through. It just should listen to my body and shut it down. But I get in that zone where I'm like, I want to compete now. I want to compete right now, and that's what screwed me over. Because I do, like, I feel. I don't know how you feel when I'm like prepping for a meet. I feel motivated. My life feels like it's going better. You're structured. You just have like a purpose every day when you wake up. You just feel like, all right, it's meet prep. we're 12 weeks out. Even if you're 18 weeks out, you're still like off season. The off season's tough for me right now. Trying to keep motivated.
Yeah. Well, if you don't know, you know what it is. Well, for myself, it was Nationals Worlds. You know, you knew what, you know, fall, spring. You kind of knew the area.
Yeah.
You know, so you always knew what was next. Where if you don't know, and that's one of the weird things that you guys have to deal with.
I don't
Sometimes
know.
you don't know.
I honestly don't.
I mean, you don't even know within a 4-week time period. You know, so you're in this weird flux.
And now it's tough too. Another thing I wanted to bring up with you, like the wraps versus sleeves debate, because it seems like over in Europe they're still all wraps over there. Watching, and in America it's sleeves. So that's another thing with my squat. I started in wraps and I switched to sleeves, and I had a harder time in sleeves. Most guys have a harder time in wraps. Like I felt like it was harder for me in sleeves, getting comfortable squatting.
I'm sure it will shift back.
Yeah.
Pendulum always kind of swings.
I didn't know if like wraps were going to be dead now because of this whole sleeve movement.
Wrap sales have done pretty much died, you know, so I know that from, you know, for sure. But who knows, you know, because wraps hurt, you know, so you got, again, you got to look at the body, you got to look at the, you know, instead of just looking at the top 20 or 30 lifters, you got to look at all the thousands that are underneath them.
Yeah.
You know, how many of them are going to really tolerate a real tight wrap?
Yeah, true.
You know, they're going to be like, oh, this hurts like a motherfucker, you know, and it does for everybody until you get used to it.
Yeah.
Or you just realize it. So
I never really liked them super tight. I liked them tight, but I always liked a little bit of leeway.
yeah.
Like I didn't like when people cranked them on. It just didn't, I couldn't like get down, I felt like.
Yeah.
So I was like tight, but like it felt like a tight sleeve for me back then, but a little bit tighter.
Mm-hmm. But the question really becomes: are the sleeves going to perform as well as the wraps?
I mean, some of these Inzer sleeves are ridiculous, and some of the newer sleeves, some of them are like, it feels like you have wraps on. Like I can't walk. When you buy a fresh pair of Inzer sleeves, you have a hard time like getting down.
Sure. So as long as that keeps advancing, it's going to stay in that route.
Yeah, I think it will for sure.
Now, when that quits advancing, then it will move because everybody wants to lift big weights. But it can. There's always outside factors. You can have a raw money meet, which is a lot of money. That's wraps, and it's going to move real quick for you guys.
Yeah.
Right. There's going to be, oh no, fuck that. I don't want to go win 20 grand because, you know, I'm going to stay in sleeves. Nobody's that fucking loyal.
No, I would definitely, 100%.
You know, they just throw that on.
Well, that's like Clash of Titans. I think that's a wrap meet over in Ireland coming up.
Yeah.
So like, if you're John Hack, do you stay in sleeves and, you know, these guys are going to, or do you try to switch to wraps? I know he said I think he was on your podcast where he said he got hurt.
Yeah.
When he did wraps. So it's like, I don't know, like some guys just are better in sleeves, but you're putting yourself at disadvantage because we've shown that guys can squat 1,000 plus in wraps.
Do you have to change anything with your squat between wraps and
sleeves? I think I take a little bit wider of a stance in wraps when I go to wraps. I haven't been in wraps in it's been like 3 years. But I'd miss it. It just takes too much time up. Now that I have a kid and a wife, I don't want to be in the gym for hours. Sleeves, you slide them on, you squat, you're done. I think that's why I went away from wraps because I don't have the time anymore to sit there and have somebody wrap my knees or me self-wrap and do it. Because I do miss wraps. Like, there's a good feeling about putting those wraps on. Even, like, equip lifting, like, it's all fun. It seems like it's making a little bit of a comeback. I see guys like Phil and other dudes doing it.
A little. But that, again, if the time is the biggest constraint, well, there's cost of entry, right? You got to buy all the shit. And then there's time. You know, it takes a lot longer, you know, because you got to put all that shit on. But it's... everything goes in cycles. There's all different types of lifting, you know, so if it was all the same type, that would be great. Yeah. But it's not going to happen.
You don't coach anything now, do you? Any sports?
I'll mentor.
Just mentor.
That's it.
Do you ever, like, because you always talk about, like, I hear you on podcasts a lot about, like, football and wrestling stuff. Do you ever miss, like, that part of it, like, coaching that? Especially because, like, a lot of, I mean, that's how I heard about you with athletes and stuff.
Yeah.
Do you ever miss working with athletes? Like, I know Mark Bell did it a lot, and with you, and you did it, like...
a little bit, but I never did it that much because most of it was just consulting with the coaches that were basically
so it was more
working with the athletes.
But
that part I do miss, you know, kind of walking people through, you know, because most lifters and coaches that have been around for a decade know more than they think they know.
Yes.
They just don't know how to regurgitate it out in a way.
Well, I used to like when you said about Louis, that Louis would have so much, you were just good at explaining what he was saying.
Yeah. And a lot of people will change things way too soon, where maybe they have 80% of it figured out, but that 20% is messing with their head so bad, they'll just erase the 80% that they know, and then just, for instance, say you went with another coach, but you didn't have that conversation, but here's all the things that I figured out.
Because I'm going to start coaching soon, and my hardest part being a strength athlete with powerlifting is just going to be, kids are going to see my numbers and be like, we want to squat heavy. And I don't think if you're a high school athlete or even a college athlete, you should do powerlifting movements, but not like at the max capacity. Like make it fun, like have a max out Friday maybe or something. But that's one thing I do regret is like, I wish we would have done when I was in high school more of like the legit conjugate style instead of just maxing. Like we did bands and stuff, but I wish I would have did it more with like my squat and deadlift, because I would have been so much more explosive. Yeah. And that's what it's about when you're an athlete, is being explosive. I just felt I got too stiff because I was like training like a power lifter. Yeah,
with the younger kids, I mean, there's some things that the coaches just need to keep in mind. A is, if you think they're not going to max their bench, deadlift, or squat in their friend's basement, you're misled.
Yeah, they're going to. Yeah.
So you got to integrate it in. Even like curls, you got to integrate in. They're going to do it in their friend. You got to integrate in the shit that they're going to do anyhow, to make sure that their technique is solid on them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then make it fun, for whatever they're doing, and then apply to whatever sport it is. And they just it's very simple. They're not strong.
No.
Just make them strong. I mean, most of them, their body weight movements suck. Yeah. So, I mean, it's got to regress all the way back. Like, can they even do a fucking lunge? Can they do a body weight squat, that doesn't look like complete shit? Can they do a push-up? Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's bad.
Because that's like one of my things I do miss. Like, I love powerlifting, but there's something cool about when I actually wrestled. I started coaching wrestling right out of college. Seeing kids progress is one of the coolest things you can see, like, especially when you see them put the work in. Like, I remember seeing this one kid I coach, wasn't good in the beginning of the year, and then I saw him get dedicated, and then he like ended up placing at districts. I'm like, it's so cool, like, because you know how you are when you're nervous, and how much more nervous I was watching them than when I'd be more nervous watching them than when I competed in sports.
Yeah, well, you see their confidence change. Yeah. I mean, they go from having zero confidence to having confidence. Yeah. And then that carries over into everything.
Especially, like, I like working with, like, kids that had a rough upbringing and stuff, because I just feel like there's something special about, like, kids that didn't grow up rich or have to work hard and grind, because that's what I really put my whole foundation on, is, like, I never was handed anything in my life. Like, I worked for every single thing I have, and I love work. Like, not saying I don't want to work with the rich kids, but I just love something about those rough-nosed kids that had a, like, rough life, tough upbringing. Like, I just feel like they're built different.
They are a little bit, because there's when you're talking about grinding through things like that, grinding through adversity, there's always this false perception that there's always a light after that. You can grind through adversity and you can bust your ass off for this certain reward, but it may not, it's not guaranteed. It's not there. It's like being lost in a cave system if you're a coal miner. Yeah. Right. You can see, sometimes you'll see the light, so you kind of know where to go. Right, but sometimes you got to go this path, but you don't see the light anymore. Yeah. And then you keep going. You got to keep looking and looking and looking just to try to find that again. Sometimes you never find it again, but it doesn't mean that the work wasn't worthwhile, and it didn't carry over into other things.
Because just like driving out here, I feel like you have a lot of that in this area. Just like, this is like farmland and farm. Yeah. It seems like you have a lot of kids in this area, and that's why football and all these other sports are so good around here, because that's all they have.
Yeah, well, they learn to work without necessarily knowing that reward's guaranteed. Yeah. Right, and then that carries over.
Because, like, for real, what kind of careers? There's, like, where I live, there's all warehouses now. Like, there's, like, a huge warehouse influx. So, like, what careers do they do in this area, like, around here in Columbus? What do they really have?
Well, even taking this concept a little step further, right? You can work your ass off and say that your guarantee is you want a 700-pound squat or whatever it is, and you bust your ass for years, and then you do that. Then is it satisfying? Maybe for a second. No, yeah. But then you're going to want more, right? So it's when the kids are raised in such a way that if you work hard, here's the guarantee. You work hard, here's the guarantee. Like, there's always that guarantee. Yep. First off, that's not true. That's not how life works. You're going to work hard. There may never be a guarantee. No. You got to figure out, what you love about working hard. You know, that's that void, that grinding part, right? That grind doesn't guarantee you're going to get it.
No,
you're still fucking, but that's what you see what I'm saying? That's the part that you love, right? So then there's not an expected guarantee from that, you know, to where with there's always that expected guarantee and they've always got that expected guarantee. They're fucked when it comes to real life.
Yeah, 100%.
Because it doesn't work like that.
And it's kind of like, I've realized it too, like no matter what you're chasing the total, like once you hit that total for a day or two,
maybe.
Yeah. And maybe if you hit like that first day or two after is awesome because people are congratulating you, like, but then you're like, where do I go from here now? Like that's kind of where I'm at right now. Am I doing this meet? I'm like, I want 2,200, but I want to do it on a big platform, or do I just care if I do it at like a local meet? So it's like I gotta decide for myself whether I want to do a local meet and hit it, or go to like a biggest meet and do it on the biggest stage. Because like it's like you still hit it either way. Yeah. So I got to figure that out.
I think you already know the answer to it if you think deeply enough about it. You know, because it's been the pursuit since the start. Yeah. You know, it's I can equate that to Wendler's goal was always to squat 1,000,000. Yeah. And man, it was a fucked up thing after he did it, and he said, "I'm done," and we're all like, because it was easy. Yeah. You know, like most people that would hit it would be like, "Oh fuck, there's 10:30, 10:30." Yeah. It's always like, "No, I'm done." I mean, it was.
He coaches football and stuff now. I always watch his stuff. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, I got it because I knew it from the onset. You know what it all was, but everybody we were training with like was what the fuck, like what you know, it was so confusing. But I think that's a good thing. You know, if you start the sport and it's something like that, then maybe you stay, maybe you don't. Yeah. But at least you're cool.
It's funny because me and my brother, I made that video like 8 years ago now, where I got interviewed by a Penn State college kid from my hometown, and he wanted to cover like a story about powerlifting for his class project, and I think it's called Beyond the Bar, Nick Forte, and that was like what I said in the video. I was like, I just want to be top 3 in the world or hit, I think I said 2,200 in the video, then and I'm done. So I knew this from the start. I think it was originally 2,100, but then when I hit that, I'm like, this is a little too easy. I have 2,200 in me.
And it may change to 23.
No, right? I don't think so.
You don't know that for sure, right? Because it's like any meet, you can have that meet. And you're talking about the gratification. If you hit a meet, but you smoke every lift, and you know you left 30 pounds on the platform on each lift, then you're like, fuck, I had 30 more pounds, right? Or if it was a grind, you're like, oh, fuck, that was a grind. Now I have to figure out how to get stronger.
I think me wanting another kid though, and the family part has really changed my, because like I don't want to. My whole thing is I don't ever want to. I feel guilty going to the gym now sometimes when I'm not home with my wife and son, because my whole thing is I don't ever. I'm sure you feel it too. Like I don't ever want to take away time from them. Yeah. Because you're a family man too, and I don't ever want to take away from them to be like at the gym, and then when he's older, I'm gonna regret looking back on these moments I missed because I was at the gym training for 2 hours. You know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that you'll figure out. Yeah. I'm starting to figure out. I like having him there with me. He comes with me and he like lifts and stuff. So you know, and he loves it. So it's funny because he's gonna be like 3 and he's already like benching and doing stuff. Yeah, I mean the biggest challenge you're gonna face is when he gets older and he starts participating in youth sports. Yeah, because then that becomes another time suck. Yeah, and that's another thing to try to balance out. But you're not there yet. You know, so you just just enjoy it, slamming while you're doing it, because you can get caught up in thinking too much about the future. You know, it's anxiety, right? Yeah, or, you know, or too much about the past, depression. Yeah. You know, or just focus on what you're able to do now. Yeah, that's gonna be my biggest struggle though. Like you said, when he gets older, just like especially what sports. Like I don't want to be too hard on him, but I want to be like, if you're dedicated to this, you finish the sport. I was taught that. Like if you start something, you got to finish it. Yeah, I was taught that as well, and that meant that I had to stick with some shitty ass sports like soccer that I didn't really like at all. Yeah, you know, but it was a value that was ingrained because of that. Yep, and I'm glad it was for me. I'm sure you are. Oh hell yeah. Yeah, it made me a better. Yeah, I didn't like it at the time. You know, hated it at the time. What was like your biggest motivation growing up? Like, there were a few of them. I mean, that would have been one. You know, as I was taught, you know, don't quit. Yeah. I mean, probably to the point that there's things that I should have quit that I didn't quit. Yeah. You know, so to the extreme on all that. I had a wrestling coach one time late picking me up, or my mom was late picking me up. So I'm running the stairs. Yeah. It's a junior high just over, and it's just killing time. Lights are all off. Probably seemed like 30 minutes or whatever. And coach walked by and asked me what I was doing. And up until that point, I never won a match. Right. And it was starting to bother me. It was starting to piss me off. And he asked what I was doing, and I said, I'm tired of fucking getting beat all the time. And he says, if you work harder than everybody else, you'll never get beat again.
right? That changed my life right there.
That's insane. Yeah.
Right? Because that right there has so much meaning. You know, because even if you lose, but you worked your hardest,
Yeah. Then you
didn't
know,
lose.
See, that's a cool thing too, that you can, when I coach, like I hear motivational videos. If you know, like, you ever watch Friday Night Lights at the end of the movie? Like that always gets me, because he's like, you know, being perfect is about being able to look your friend in the eye and know that there was nothing else you can do. And when you get to that point in powerlifting or anything you do, when you know in your heart that you put everything into it, it doesn't sting as much or doesn't feel as bad when you lose.
Yeah.
But if you know, like, oh, I did skip a rep here, or I did skip a workout, then you're like, well, I deserve to lose.
Yeah. And then you know, then you're better the next time.
That's what helped me get over wrestling, because I knew in high school there was times I slacked where I could have went running, where I should have went and ran and got in better shape, that I didn't. And that's when I look back and I'm like, well, it's on me then. I didn't give it my full effort.
Exactly. You know,
or like a meet prep, if you mess up on the platform, you're like, well, you know, you did skip accessories this whole meet prep, so don't be upset when you don't hit the total you want. So yeah, that's what would be my advice to kids. Just know that if you put everything into it, then
have ownership, man.
Yeah.
You know, it's with my kids growing up, it's a matter of trying to dial it all back into, it still was your fault.
Yeah.
You know, because I have one kid that it's never his fault, you know, so I mean, he can get in a car accident and it's still your fault, but it wasn't his fault. Somebody else hit him.
Are they're into sports or anything now too? Is that...
No, they're beyond that.
Okay, they're beyond
that. But I can dial it back to say, but you chose to go down that road.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go that. You could have went down this road, but you went this road. So even though it was the other person's fault, technically, you still made the decision to go down that road. So you can always spin it back, you know, to that own personal accountability, to where, you know, that's what I thought. That's what I learned in that stairwell that day.
Okay.
Was that, was that personal accountability. That's what that is. And if you keep dialing it back, it's always my fault. No matter what it is, it's always my fault. But when it comes time to give credit, it's not my credit.
Yeah.
You know, it's staff, team, family, God, whatever. It's not my credit, right? It's not my credit. It's my responsibility, my fault, not my credit.
Well, that's what I love now too, is that I remember just being new to this sport and being in like college, looking up and being like, I want to be one of these guys. And it was so cool, because I told my wife when I got the chance to go to Utah, like, I've always wanted to be one of those guys that was on a like that old Arnold Australia video. Always wanted to come on here. Like I always remember, like, these are the goals I want. And now that I'm like living it, it's a cool feeling, because I feel like with my numbers and what I've achieved, I am one of those guys now. And I used to look up to these guys, so now I think there's kids looking up to me. They're like, I want to be Nick Forte. And it's a cool feeling. I'm sure you feel like you've always wanted to be like one of those top guys back then that you were looking up to.
No, it's why I founded the company with this live, learn, pass on thing. And the thing that I'm most grateful for is now I see people that I mentor other people who are now mentoring other people. I mean, it's going, you know, stages, you know, down, you know, to where it works. Like if you help other people and genuinely give a shit, it helps.
It's funny, because I texted my best friend from high school. I'm going to his wedding in a couple months, that I was coming on your podcast. He's like, dude, that is awesome. I remember us for like the Prowler, just the old days of grinding and lifting, being like, yo, it'd be so cool to meet Dave Tate one day, wouldn't it? And now I'm sitting here talking to you.
The Prowler flu shit.
Just all the shit we used to do with the bands and chains. We used to do bands, chains, explosive stuff, like box jumps all the time, and just being like, oh, well, Dave Tate's doing this, and because like Joe DeFranco, we were like big on him. We grew up on all that stuff, so we were like all in. Like it was cool, because I remember us like sprinting up. Like it was cool to see a group of kids get dedicated, and like we sucked in football. We were like 0-10 for years, and then like my senior class and the junior class came together and we're like, no drinking. Let's train hard. And we did all summer long. We were grinding. We ended up like winning back-to-back Eastern Conference championships. Like the first team to ever beat our rival in 15 years. So
no, that's awesome.
So like for real, all of us just being friends and going to the gym and grinding. And that's what I said. That's what I'm missing nowadays. Like if you can get a group of people together, anything will. If you get them to just believe in it, anything will happen.
Well, you have that with your family.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah,
so it just changes.
My brother, my wife, his wife, like my mother-in-law, father-in-law, my dad, like they all believe in me. So that's all I need. And
yeah, that supportive social network is huge. You know, when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah.
How can people get a hold of you? How can they find you? Follow you?
Instagram, nforte242, Facebook, or can shoot me a message. I try to respond to everybody.
You're actually on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook too. Well, that's for the wife. That's for more family. That's for like the wife.
Yeah,
that's like her family and like family that live like far away. I just post pictures with. That's all my family stuff. I don't really post powerlifting stuff on there, but more Instagram. Hit me up on there.
Okay.
If you want to follow me or.
Yeah. Any final thoughts?
No, like my advice is just like if you're power lifter or whatever you want to do, just keep grinding, put your head down. There's going to be up and downs and just stay consistent. Like this, what I've learned in this sport is this took me over 12 years to get to where I'm at now. And it's just, I never thought I'd be here, but I just kept working hard, believed in myself, my faith helped me get through it. And like I said, there's going to be injuries. You're going to bounce back, but if you really believe in it, I think you'll achieve anything you want. You just got to be dedicated and focused.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Guys, all his links are in the description, and we're done.
It's not going to your organs. So your liver, your kidneys, your lungs, your heart are not getting the support from your body that they need because you've given your body this very strong signal that it needs to go to muscle. So if you were to stay on a huge amount of androgens for never mind years, decades, that's when you see organ damage, things start to grow,